how much she's been waiting all day for Sunday night. Anyway, what up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim. We're gonna go ahead and start the live off. It is indeed a Sunday evening live, as I just alluded to. We're gonna be talking about the expectations that are coming from President Trump. What I want to talk to you folks about, if I can get my equipment straight here, is we always have two topics to discuss, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking about, once again, I just had a discussion today, and I wanted to come on here and talk to you folks about it because people have sworn up and down one of the reasons Kamala Harris and the Democrats lost by so damn much this last national election is that the Democrats did not have a platform. In other words, the Democrats didn't have shit to run on. So what I'm going to ask you folks is, like I said, I'm still trying to get my equipment straight here. What I'm going to ask you folks is, do you see it that way? Whereas the Democrats have no platform, whereas the Democrats in the last election did not run on anything? I mean, I would assume that most of us would probably know what the Democratic agenda is. But is that the way you saw it? That the Democrats had no platform, therefore that is probably one of the reasons Trump lost. The Democrats had nothing to run on. I don't know if I would see it that way. I would tend to think, based on a lot of the complaints by people of why they did not vote Democrat, is because they knew what the Democrats were running on and they didn't want nothing to do with it. So the idea that the Democrats did not have any platform to run on, that doesn't make sense to me, but I want to run it by you folks. The Democrats had nothing to run on, no platform whatsoever. I want to run that by you folks. But that is the secondary topic. I just want to run it by you. I just mentioned it because the main topic is going to be a bit more in detail, in depth. As you see behind me, the photo is President Trump on day one, and that is what we're going to talk about. And that being, I want to hear from you folks. We'll take callers as usual. We'll challenge you, of course. That's what we do here. But I want to know from you folks, what are your expectations from Trump on day one? Couple things from each caller. Like, what do you want him to do most? Now, he's made a host of promises. And some of those might include, he's promised to begin mass deportations. He's promised to end the Russian war. He's promised to drill, baby, drill. He's talked about rolling back protections for transgender students, imposing tariffs on goods imported into this country, primarily Chinese goods. Talking about dismantling the deep state of government workers. Now, I don't know what the hell that means. I know a lot of MAGA often use the term deep state, but my humble opinion, deep state just simply mean enemies. That's the only way. I don't know what the hell deep state means. And maybe this is where some of you folks can educate me on that. And he also talked about pardoning the January 6th protesters, and last but not least, making his federal cases go away. Now, obviously, making his federal cases go away is probably going to rank high on the list. But those are some of the things he's promised to do. Now, what I want to ask you also, are there any things that you might be concerned about that you're hoping he does not do? We've seen what he did the first time. Some folks favored his first administration. Others detested it. But is there things you hoping he do not do on day one, or hell, even week one, or even year one? Because he's promised he's going to do a host of things on day one. Now, notice in my commentary of what he's going to do on day one, I didn't say a damn thing about being a dictator. And obviously, some would ask, why isn't that in there? Because he did indeed tell Sean Hannity that was his plan, is to be a dictator on day one. So we'll talk about it, but hopefully he doesn't get in there and do anything that damn stupid. Hopefully not. But he did say, to Sean Hannity, when he asked him, were you going to be a dictator? He said, yeah, on day one, We can interpret it. We can say it's a joke. We can say it was taken out of context. But he didn't say no. So we will talk about that. Nevertheless, that is the topics of the program. You know how we run this. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We've always been MAGA friendly. We always will be. We go left of Bernie Sanders from having dinner with Q. Everybody gets to speak on the program. So I want to look in the comments real quick. And I'm going to ask you guys right off the bat to tap the screen, get the likes up. Hopefully it'll help the algorithm. A lot of Trump conversation doesn't go well with the TikTok algorithm, but we make it work for as well as we can. So tap the screen, get the likes up, get us up to about 5,000. We'll go from there. Trump felon, says Greg. Not for long. Not for long. Trump is not going to be a felon for long. That is number one. I have eight on my personal list of day one promises from Trump, day one expectations from Trump. Number one is make his federal cases go away. Now, his felony cases, 34 felonies is a state case, but I don't expect that to go much further than where it's at right now either. But yeah, his cases are going to go away. And if he doesn't end up firing or prosecuting, even prosecuting Jack Smith and Merrick Garland. So we'll see. But he's not going to be a felon for much longer. Anyway, going back to the comments, for some reason I cannot read that name. Charles Saunders says, day one will be interesting. Day one will probably be the most interesting day one of any commander-in-chief in U.S. history. That's why I'm asking, is there anything you're hoping he does not do on day one? Something that you might be concerned you're really hoping he does not do. Let me go straight to the box. Michael, good evening. Welcome to the program. Happy Sunday evening. Now, if I'm correct, you were not a fan of Trump in his last election, correct?
You talking to me?
Yes.
Man, you already know I wasn't a fan of Trump.
I gotta make sure.
I know you gotta ask.
Yeah.
I know you gotta ask me. So I want to ask you a question, but I want all that stuff you listed.
Yeah.
What one of those is possibly good?
Drill, baby, drill is good. The end in the Russian war is good. I'm trying to see. I don't know what the hell dismantling the deep state of government workers. I don't know what that even means. So I can't say that's good or bad. And that's about the only ones I favor.
Yeah. Okay. So drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
Right. We have a surplus of oil right now, right?
That's what they say.
Okay. All right. So and again, that's why I asked you the question. So you asked about on day one.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's a lose proposition.
What do you mean?
If he does any of the shit he said he's going to do, none of it's really good. It's not good for the people.
I just gave you ones that are good.
Yeah.
You don't think ending the Russian war is good?
By the way that he wants to end it, no.
Okay. Well, but he didn't specify how. You're speculating on that. I tend to probably agree with you, but you are speculating on how he's going to do that.
Yeah, well, we talked about this yesterday. This whole peaceful deal, right?
Yeah.
The word peaceful, right, is in question. So I just don't have faith based on what we've seen that anything is going to happen in a way that it's not going to benefit Ukraine, which means it doesn't benefit us.
Well, what if I'm under the impression, based on the Sunday shows I watched today, that Trump is going to come up with the suggestion of how to end the war by saying Russia does not advance any further into the Ukraine. However, the land that they have already captured, they get to keep it. Now, that's not good for the Ukraine, obviously, but it would stop the bloodshed.
If Zelensky agreed to that?
Most likely he won't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right, because that would be something that if they really wanted to end it and that was on the table, Zelensky could give that up now.
Well, I don't know. We don't know how much land Russia wants right now. Yeah, we don't know.
They want it all, Tim. They want it all, Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, man. They ain't nothing but, man. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. It's just crazy to me.
So then let me ask you this. Let me ask you the adverse of that. Is there any concerns you have of things you're hoping Trump does not do on day one?
Shit, half the shit he's talking about for Project 2025. Total immunity for police officers, mass deportation. I mean, those two alone, you know.
Well, let me interrupt you. How is mass deportations bad? A lot of folks believe, look, they're in the country illegally. We don't know who the hell they are. We haven't done any vetting on them. Why is that a bad thing to get those folks out of here? Some are criminal.
Because you can't identify them that way. And I know why you're asking me, because you can't identify them that way. Because when you say mass deportations of millions, it will cripple our economy. And there's been so many people, even some of his supporters now are saying that's a terrible, terrible idea. It's almost like, Tim, this was a game to a lot of Trump supporters, almost like being a sports fanatic, right? Okay. All they care about is wins and losses. They weren't looking at stats. So now that they won, they're like, oh, it's really not. How many people have come on your show and said, he's really not going to do this stuff? How many times have you heard that?
I don't know. On the things I mentioned, I don't think they have said he's not going to do this stuff. I think stuff like giving the police immunity from prosecution, they've said he's not going to do that. But I think everybody believes he's going to have a mass deportations. They really believe he's going to drill. They really believe he's going to end the Russian war. Like you said, we don't know how the hell that's going to happen, under what circumstances. They really believe he's going to pardon the January 6th protesters. They really believe he is going to make his federal cases go away. The tariffs is probably one of the things that I think folks are questioning. But most of this stuff, I think people really believe is going to happen.
But they don't. But the how part. No one ever asked the how, right? They never asked the how. They never asked those questions of him like they asked of Kamala. Never, right? So we don't know. Like you said, it's all speculative. He has nothing. The only thing that's written in paper is Project 2025.
Yeah. Well, he claims he has nothing to do with that, though.
Well, yeah, but we're not going to go there tonight, Tim. This Sunday, it's supposed to be the Lord's Day, Tim. We're not going there. We all know. Listen, here's what I would like you to do. Just consider this. When you bring a Trump supporter up, ask them, did they believe? Because, I heard a lot of Trump supporters say Project 2025. Number one, it didn't exist. And number two, he had nothing to do with it, right? Yeah. And now he's appointed people to his cabinet that have contributed to it and written a significant portion of it. So ask that question to see where they stand with that.
Have you heard people that support Trump say it didn't exist?
Yes, I've heard people say I've heard them say it's a hoax, it's a left liberal thing, all this shit. I've heard everything you could think of. Now it's there. Yeah. Now it's there, and he's appointing people that wrote in it, and now it's like, well, but they're not really going to do that stuff. So, like he's talking about dismantling the Department of Education. People that voted for that, I talked to a lady yesterday, Tim, a lady that voted for him, and she has special needs kids, right? That are in school. I said, you do understand that the Department of Education, those programs that your kid benefits from, are part of the Department of Education. If he does what he says he's going to do, your kids will not have those programs. She didn't believe me at first. She looked it up. I said, that individual education program your son, little Scotty, is in, that's gone if he does what he says he's going to do. She got quiet as a church mouse, and then she said, well, I'm going to have to do some more research. Well, it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's too late.
Right.
What are you talking about?
It is too late.
I mean, and whoever said false, no, it's 100% correct. If he gets rid of the Department of Education, all those programs, all English, the ESL programs, all of that stuff.
Well, I think that they're hoping that if he gets rid of the Department of Education, he will put something in place to maintain the existence of those programs. That's what they're hoping.
That's what they're hoping, but that's not what they're saying. They want to take all that funding away, roll it over to private schools, and then expect the public school systems and parents to somehow be able to afford this private school. But that's not their intent. They don't want these people in private schools. Like
you said, that's kind of what happens when you don't ask questions of how stuff is going to happen. All of a sudden, now you're like, well, damn, I didn't know he was going to take away something I'm used. When he said he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare last go-round, that was one of my biggest concerns is, you're okay with voting for him to repeal and replace Obamacare without him telling you what he's going to replace it with? And people were totally okay with that.
I heard a guy yesterday said he can get rid of Obamacare as long as he keeps the Affordable Care Act.
And they're the same thing. And they're the same thing.
So, right. So when I came up and you asked me, and I said it's a lose-lose proposition, and if there's Trump supporters on here, hear what I'm saying. If he doesn't do what he told you he was going to do, how are you going to feel about that? And if he does do what he said he's going to do, how are you going to? It's a lose-lose proposition if you look at the detail. If you really look at the detail, it's a lose-lose proposition on the majority of. If he does one of these things, Tim, if he does a mass deportation, it's going to cost us more money. They never talked about the cost of mass deportation.
Well, let me respond to that. The reason why cost is not coming up, or that MAGA is not that affected by cost, is because folks believe these immigrants are potential terrorists, rapists, murderers, the killer of Lincoln Riley. There is no cost that would make you vote against it based on cost if your safety is at risk. People believe these are invaders. They're coming to hurt people. So yeah, it costs a little bit of money to get rid of them, but how much of a cost do you put on safety?
Right. Well, what you said a key word, and you always do. That's why I keep coming back to your lives. You said they believe.
Yeah.
They believe that those things are those threats. But if you look at the stats and the data, they tokenize that young lady's unalive, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And then you hear some people saying, well, is one enough? Well, if that's your standard, then one woman shouldn't lose her life because of her rights, or women's rights are being infringed on. We shouldn't lose one woman that can't get the medical care she needs because of trying to roll back Roe v. Wade.
Well, there's going to be some hypocrisy in the statements.
I understand. Yeah. But again, I'm with you. I agree with you. It's just the idea that that's the hill that people want to stand on when we know that it's not about those things. It's not. And what? One of the things that's trending is FOFO, right? FOFO, fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out, right? All over the place. And it's not a game. I've been telling you that since we got on air, but it was approached like a game. If you think about it, this is what I don't like about politics. It's not a game. We're not talking about the San Francisco 49ers. We're not talking about a sports team, but a lot of people just get lost in the colors, the jersey, the hat, game day. Did we win or did we lose? But they have no idea about any stats, how we got there, how was it impacted. And a lot of people took this as a game, and now that the game is technically over, what did you actually win?
Well, I can respond to that from a host of ways. Now that Trump and MAGA has been victorious, what did they actually win? Well, they don't feel that their kid is going to go to school one gender and come home another. They don't feel that we're going to continue letting a bunch of people in the country that they don't know who the hell they are. They don't feel that their gun rights are going to be threatened. They don't feel like a woman's going to be able to terminate a child after it's born. This is what they feel. So they believe they didn't just win the game. They won the foundation of America back.
And everything you just said were feelings, and none of it was true.
Perception is reality.
Listen, look, Tim, I know, and that's the sad part about this time we're in. None of what you said, those were their feelings, but they've been lied to, because none of what you said is true, and it's definitely not. And I would say this. I've gone so far to try to have conversations and say, let's just take at face value that you think that is a thing, right?
Yeah.
At what levels is it happening? And then ask yourself, are you just now finding this out? Or is this something that's just now been happening? Or has this been going on for years, right? Like, for example, deportation. Just last night, I had a conversation, and I said to a guy, you're talking about deporting all these people back to their countries. Have we brokered any deals with these countries? Do people understand you can't just put people on buses and drive them across the southern border and dump them back in Mexico?
I don't know. With Trump in charge, I think that might happen. I can see Trump putting them on a big Navy ship and telling that country, you let them come through your country to come to ours. You take them back to Mexico and you send them back from which they came. I can see Trump doing that.
You can see him trying to do that. Do you think that the president of Mexico is just going to okay? Because you know what's going to happen? First of all, you know how many people's Fourth Amendment rights are going to be infringed on to even try to make this a possibility?
There could be some of that.
How do you know who is legal and who's not? How do you know who's undocumented and who's not?
What do you mean? How do you know who's undocumented?
Oh,
If you're documented, if you're legal, there should be a record of it.
right, but how do you know? How do they know in the everyday life of all of us? How are you identifying these people? How are you identifying them?
Well, there's a bunch of things. First of all, if they start out with the criminals, they have last known addresses and things like that. You can go to those addresses looking for them. Some folks are going to be driving.
Right there, Tim.
Huh?
Okay, stop. Okay, stop right there. That means you have to have an active warrant for them, unless you declared an invasion, right?
Yeah, you're in the country. You're in the country illegally. That'll get you a bench warrant under Trump's administration.
But you have to identify those people in order to get the bench warrant.
I just told you how to do that. When they arrested that person, that they let go, that undocumented individual that they arrested, and they gave him bail or they gave him a court date to come back, they know who that person is. They got their fingerprints on file.
So how many people, you grew up in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
How many criminals are easy to locate like that, Tim?
When you got the full weight of the federal system, when you start pushing aside amendments like the Fourth Amendment, you can round them up pretty damn quick.
But you just said pushing aside the Constitution to do it.
I'm just telling you.
But see, here's the thing, and I hear you, but you have to say that so people understand if it's going to happen, they're going to have to push aside the Constitution to do it.
I will also point this out. When you consider the fact of how many Hispanics voted for Trump, I think if you start giving out rewards, if they're willing to vote for Trump with him making all those promises to deport people, and then they claim, yeah, we don't like people being in the country illegally or skipping the line, well, we came legally as well, I think you could probably get a bunch of them to snitch on each other by offering a little mild reward.
And the funny part about it, they dumbass gonna be on the same bus as the ones they going to snatch up. And you know what? And they should. Yeah. If that's what you're saying, if that's what they're saying, and that's the ignorance of it all, right? That's the ignorance of it all, because they're acting like they're dealing with an idea, because it's an ideology that really cares about whether you're legal or not. That's what they're telling them. Yeah. But that's not the plan. And here's the thing. Tim, listen, Tim, because you look a little Haitian anyway. So you better keep your ID and stuff around your neck. Let me tell you, because you and I both know that is what it's not about. Well, you're okay, you move on, but that's not what they're saying, because your Fourth Amendment right will be infringed upon.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no denying. Certainly with stop and frisk. Sheriff Joe Arpaio was doing it down in Arizona back in Trump's first term, and Trump was totally okay with it. Same with Rudolph Giuliani. Yeah, I think that MAGA and even probably some independents and maybe even a small amount of liberals, to get the immigrants out of this country, I think they would be okay with rolling back some of the Fourth Amendment protections.
And so here's what, and again, it's just terrible. So here's what happens when that starts happening. Now you have legal, documented, legal Hispanics or immigrants, whatever you want to call them. Now they're fearful. So now they're hiding. Now they're not showing up. Now they're not going to work because they're worried about getting snapped. So then, I mean, it's a cluster. There's no way around it. It's a cluster.
Oh.
And people aren't paying attention. It's a cluster. If I were you, I would take a play out of the Tim Scott playbook. You need to go get you a white woman. You need to get a couple, and you need to. I'm just telling you.
I'm listening.
Okay, Tim? You okay? You better make sure. Listen, that legal, illegal, all that. Do not. If people are thinking that that's a reality, ask Angel Rodriguez in Texas what happened to him.
I think for now, and maybe I come across as ignorant or naive to say this, but I think for now, in terms of deportation, people that look like me are somewhat safe. Somewhat. Okay. I think they're going for the brown ones first.
He literally said, the ones in Haitian up in Colorado got to go.
Yeah. In Springfield, Ohio. In Springfield, Ohio.
Yes. And they're here legally.
Yeah. That's who we voted for. That's who we voted for, Mike. That's it. That is who we voted for.
No, that's who they voted for. I did not vote for that.
We, as a country, we voted for Trump. We thought Kamala Harris sucked. She had to go. Her and Biden were not doing a good job. We voted for Trump. That's what we did as a country.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I want every last one of them that voted for him to keep their MAGA hats and their MAGA shirts on when they start looking for him. You know, keep your shirt on, keep your jersey on. Since you've been rooting for your team, keep your jersey, keep your hat, keep your flags, keep all of that when they're looking for somebody to look just like you. Because I'm telling you, they are not going to care in that moment.
All right, Mike, you're frightening some of my guests, but as always,
they better pay attention. Hey,
it's too late.
Do what I told you to do. Do not get in the car with Julio, Gen X, and you look Haitian. I'm gonna take a screenshot and show all my people. I'm like, he don't speak English and they'll believe it.
I gotta go. All right, Mike. All right, you're scaring the shit out of me. Let me move the program on. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. We are talking about the expectations of Trump on day one. We're talking about the expectations of Trump on day one. Also, I do want to, as a side note, discuss the fact that Kamala Harris lost by a good piece in the last election. Folks are suggesting that she lost by so much because the Democratic Party had no platform, nothing to run on. So what I want to ask also is, can you describe what the Democrats ran on? What was the Democratic platform just a few weeks ago? What were the Democrats running on? Because a lot of folks are saying that they weren't running on anything but hatred of Trump. So we will talk about that. But the main question we're asking is, what would you like to see Trump do on day one? What would you like? Now, he's made a ridiculous amount of promises in regards to things he's going to do on day one. So what I want to ask you folks is, what would you like to see him do? And then, of course, as you see with me and my last caller, we're sparring back and forth. What are you concerned maybe that you are hoping he does not do on day one? Keep in mind, we've had 4 years of Trump already, 2016 and 2020. It was not a perfect administration. A lot of folks favorite the economy, favorite the price of, fuel, and you can afford groceries and shit like that. There was not a lot of major military conflicts going on around the world like there are now, but it wasn't perfect. I mean, the amount of turnover in Trump's administration was insane. So it leaves a question to be asked. What would you hope that he does not do on day one, week one, month one, or even year one? Something you're hoping he does not do. Because like I said, it was not perfect. Nevertheless, we'll continue on with the comments. Haitians have not organized groups to help their people adjust. As far as race, the most dangerous, feared part of the Muslim immigrant community are white Muslims from Chechnya. Is it? Isn't that where the Boston bombers were from? You're saying that out of all of the Muslims, if you're going to really be concerned with any, Muslim committing an act of terror, he's saying the white Muslims, the ones from Eastern Europe, are the worst. I don't know about that. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. I don't know if I would agree with that. But I will say this: in terms of terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, there's been very few. Outside of the two World Trade Center bombings, the one in 93 and the one in 01. How many other acts of terror? Obviously, the Boston bombing event. I don't know who did the Atlanta Olympic Park bombing in 96. I don't know who the hell did that, but there hasn't been many. Going back to the box, Carlos the Rocker, good evening. Trump on day one. We'll just flat out ask, what are you expecting? Trump on day one. Good, bad, indifferent, concerned. What do you think? Where do you think we're headed? Now, Carlos, good evening.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got an echo.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You got an echo. Are you on Bluetooth or something?
Well, no. Do I sound good now?
You sound good, but there's so much of an echo. I'm gonna drop you and have you come back because there's too much of an echo. Yeah, there's too much of an echo. I'll have you come back. I don't know make sure you have no Bluetooth running or anything like that. For some reason, on TikTok, it makes an echo come up. We'll continue on real quick with Robert Porter. Good evening, Robert. Eric Rudolph was the Atlanta bomber. Okay, so he wasn't a Christian nationalist, really. The Olympic Park bomber in Atlanta was a Christian nationalist. I did not know that. Robert, good evening.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Yeah, and some have stated that is who you probably should be concerned about terrorists coming from. Some folks are saying that Christian nationalists are more harmful than the Muslim community. But we're talking about day one Trump. Robert, concerns,
Day one,
expectations.
slow the border down, not stop it, but slow it down. Mass deportation, I'm ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Wait, hold on. Before you continue, give me your description of mass deportations. What do you want? Who do you want deported?
What I would like to see would be we get out these soldier age guys, these young guys, get out all the people because you know that there's 80% of the people that come across the border aren't going to qualify for asylum.
True.
Let's get the people that ain't going to qualify first.
Military age males you're talking about.
Right. Let's deal with that first. Let's deal with the gangs. Let's deal with the violent ones, the ones with, murder charges and SA charges. Let's get them out of here first.
Okay.
Then we need to reevaluate and deal with the ones that are here that either have one family, one mother with them, or one parent with them, or both parents.
So you would be okay with supporting the Dreamers Act. In other words, if the only crime I committed was coming in here illegally, but I've been here for a while and I haven't done anything else, and I guess if I'm not a military age male, you might be willing to consider letting me stay.
As long as they came across and they don't have any charges in other countries, any convictions, I don't have a problem with them staying.
I don't think that's that bad.
I think that we should have a pathway for them. Children, and I know it's happened in the past 4 years, children that have been born in this country from their parents coming over and then having them here.
Anger babies.
I believe the children that are born here, I believe their parents, instead of separating or sending them both back, I think they should open up a pathway for them to do citizenship.
Now, let me make sure I'm getting, Robert, you sound quite liberal to me. Did you vote for Trump at all?
I'm mega, baby.
That don't sound like MAGA. You're telling me you're okay with an anchor baby?
But look, man, I have a compassionate side too.
Right, you don't sound like MAGA. That's the point I'm making.
That's the thing. Y'all misinterpret MAGA.
No.
Because y'all get a few people. Let me tell you something. There's some good Democratic supporter people out there. There's some good people. It just that handful of people that want to treat MAGA like they're a cold and tell them they ain't shit and that you don't care about people, you're racist because you voted for Trump. Those are the people that make the good people on your side look bad. Yeah,
but let me be clear.
We have them. Don't get me wrong. We have them too.
Right, but
we have the racists. We have the people that aren't very considerate towards other people's feelings, and and it makes
they're waving around. Yeah, they're waving around. Fuck your feeling flags. We know that some people are not considerate towards other people's feelings.
Believe it or not, it's on both sides. I've been attacked in a left room just because I was born white. I'm racist. My wife's African American. My children are biracial, but yet somehow because I was born white, I am racist.
Your wife is African American and your children are biracial. You don't sound like MAGA. I'm telling you, you're like MAGA light. You're like MAGA light.
I'm so excited to see some of the people that he's put in. You got to understand something. Trump didn't know what he was doing when he came in at 16. He grabbed people thinking that they knew they could help him, and come to find out they wasn't good at what they did. They were crooked. He didn't want that.
Yeah, so but wait a minute. Do you think he's not? Do you think he learned from grabbing inexperienced people the first go round and this go round?
Oh yes, absolutely.
You think Matt Gaetz was a good pick?
I think Matt Gaetz was just a pit bull for Trump. If you know what I mean.
You want to put in wait, hold on.
Trump knew that he would do whatever he wanted him to do, and that he would go after.
That ain't what I'm asking you though. He was going to be America's top cop while being investigated for major felonies himself. Is that a good pick?
No, I mean you got to understand something. None of that. He wasn't charged with anything. He wasn't convicted of anything. So
we don't know.
But in this country, regardless, We are innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, but in this country, you don't make your cases go away either. I mean, both him and Trump are both him and hold on. Both him and Trump, they're not trying to prove their innocence in court in a court of law and show that it was a witch hunt. They're trying to sweep their cases under the rug so you never know what were in them. Both him and Matt Gaetz did that. That's not something that you or I could ever do in a court of law. We either go if they
What
charge.
do you mean by shove it under the carpet? You mean pay off?
No, I mean fire the people that may have been able to prove a case against you. If you or I get charged with a crime, we have to go to court and prove we're innocent. Both Trump and Matt Gaetz have been. Hold on, hang on. Both Trump. Hold on. Both Trump and Matt Gaetz. Well, Trump has clearly been charged with a bunch of crimes, and Matt Gaetz was investigated and probably on the cusp of being indicted for a crime. They're making him go away. You and I don't have that ability to do that.
Well, how do you know for sure they're making them go away? I mean, it might be obvious of that, but again, see, this is what I don't understand about the United States. People are innocent until proven guilty, regardless of what we may know or what.
That ain't what I'm saying to you, though. What I'm saying is they're doing something.
What you're saying.
Here's what I'm saying, and thank you, Drew. Appreciate that. What I'm saying is that they're doing something that you or I would never have the ability to do if we were charged with a crime. You don't have the ability to quit and make the charges go away or get a job and fire the prosecutor that's going on your case. You have to either prove you're innocent in court or be found guilty. Those are your only two options. They're doing something that you and I don't have the ability to do. They have privilege.
So who did Trump fire?
He's going to fire Jack Smith.
Jack Smith is crooked.
How do you know? Based on what?
Based on all of it. And look at, you don't think that they didn't have to twist the laws around to go after Trump?
What happened to you just said
that they charge him with?
You just stated 30
years ago. That lady, she didn't. Her story changed numerous times.
You just stated yourself. You are innocent until proven guilty. Where's the proof? Where's the proof that Jack Smith did the stuff you just accused him of?
Same thing with Matt. Where's the proof that he did it?
You didn't answer my question.
What is the same thing as you're saying to me?
No, it ain't. Nobody has indicted Jack Smith. They indicted Trump.
Indicted Matt neither.
What are you saying?
Nobody's indicted him, but yet why do you think he took it? Why do you think the man went ahead and denounced his name? Because all they were going to do was run him in the mud, take for months to approve him, and we don't have time for that. So he took one for the team and dropped down so that we could get somebody in there because we needed them to start day one. We don't need this shit to go on for months. And that's what it did in 2016. That man never even had a full administration because the Democrats played around and played around and played around, and some of the Republicans did.
So wait, hold on. You do realize hold on. What you're saying that they never gave Trump a chance from day one? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they never gave him. They went after him on the Russian collusion, the fake dossier. They wiretapped his towers. Come on, man.
So then let me ask you this question. Since you stated, hold on, hang on. Let's have a conversation. So since you're saying they never gave Trump a chance from day one, do you believe Trump gave Obama or Biden a chance from day one?
He didn't. What did he do to interfere with them?
Well, he tried to say one of the dudes was born. Hold on, let me answer the question. He tried to say the guy before him was born in a foreign country, therefore he should be disqualified. He tried to say the guy after him stole the election, therefore he should be disqualified.
Well, you don't believe that? You believe Obama was born here in America? I mean, do you? That's what I'm asking.
You started the conversation off by saying, you said, hold on. You started the conversation off by saying innocent until proven guilty. Where's the proof he wasn't?
Did he do an 8-year term?
Yeah.
All right, then. So he was innocent until proven guilty.
So
he stayed innocent until Trump couldn't prove his guilt.
But you didn't answer the question I asked. Did Trump give him a chance from day one?
No, but he didn't ride him. He didn't come up with something else after that, and something else after that, and something else after that.
So he
did it on the left.
So the
now,
only
they went after Trump's Putin's buddy, and they interfered with the elections and left. Wait a minute, and then they left it alone and let Trump do his thing.
So what you're saying?
Find any proof?
So what you're saying is,
Obama didn't have to deal with it after it was. Of course, Trump's allowed to think what he wants to think, but he didn't bash that man every chance he got.
Yeah, he did. What do you mean he didn't?
No, he did not. No, he did not.
Okay, so So you're saying he did give Obama a chance?
Yeah, he did. Well, not at first, but yeah, after a while, he just laid off of it. After his first 4 years, you didn't hear Trump bash.
So he only attacked. So Trump gets a pass because he only attacked Obama for 4 years.
So let me ask you this: so where's the other 20 million votes that we're missing?
They're still counting them. They're still counting them. I can't speak.
Look, you'll never make me believe in a million years that sorry racist Biden got more votes than Obama ever got. Obama was the golden child.
Who was Biden racist? Who was Biden racist
towards? We got a black president now, and then guess what? They found out too. He ain't do shit for them neither.
Who was Biden racist towards?
White people.
Why don't they think that?
That's a $1 billion question. If I look at you and I tell you ain't black unless you vote for me, that if we let them integrate in schools, they'll be like roaches, we'll never get them out. Come on, man. I heard it all myself. I'm 56 years old. I heard it straight out the man's mouth. Yeah. You know what the problem is? These younger black Americans, they didn't see that. They just hear about it, so it doesn't affect them. It affects you worse when you actually see that man say that.
And so,
because I know what he is and who he is.
And so you're probably not aware that Trump had to settle out of court for not renting some of his units to black people. Did you ever hear about that one?
See, what you got to remember, Trump was in his 20s.
What does that got to do with it?
Because he was in partnership with his father. Of course, his name's going to be on the docket because he's part of the company. But that don't specifically mean. So this is the question I got to ask you.
What are you saying?
If that's a racist man, right?
No, let me ask you this: if you were caught in court not renting to black people, is that a racist act?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Give me your statement.
I'm sure you up in age with me.
Yeah, I'm 52.
When you were 20 years old, did you think the same way you did at 30 years old?
This wasn't from when Trump was 20. He wasn't 20 when that happened.
He was 20-something years old.
No, he was not. That doesn't go back that far. He wasn't 20. That's not true.
If it was in 72, it is 25. Might as well say 2025.
Okay.
How many years is that?
Okay. And so what do you say? Because he was in his 20s, he gets a pass?
But what I'm saying is, when you're 25, 30 years old, you don't think the same way at 40. You don't think the same way at 50, the same way you did at 40. So, okay? What I'm saying is, for someone to be that racist, why did this man go to the Palm Beach Council and try to get blacks and Latinos as members in the club? Because before he got there, they wasn't allowed to be members in the club, but yet he initiated that.
So wait a minute, hold on. So you're going to give Trump credit for what he's done for blacks, but you're going to ignore the fact that Biden is the reason we got Obama and Kamala Harris, both of them? You're going to ignore that and call him a racist?
He is a racist. The only reason he got Harris as his VP was to pander to the black vote. That's all.
What racist? Since when do racists pander to black people?
What do you mean? When do
racists don't give a damn about black people? They don't appoint black people to high level positions. Racists don't pander to black people.
They do when they're in the Democratic Party because that's their vote. That's their voting base.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what. You heard what come on, man. You're sitting here trying to. I know what you do.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you.
It's horrible what you do.
Why is it horrible, Robert? Why is it horrible?
In order for the vote?
Huh?
Of course he's going to throw the black lady in there so he can get all the black vote.
So why don't the Klan do that then? Why doesn't the Klan pander? If racists pander to black people, why don't the Klan do that?
Because they think they're more superior. They have a different mission than Biden had.
So what was Biden's mission?
Biden was just pure racist, just a normal racist guy like most white men at that age.
Just a normal racist guy giving all these. He was just a normal racist guy giving black people vice president and Supreme Court positions.
He only did that to get the vote. He knew what to do. He's not stupid.
Maybe if the Klan, if the Klan pandered to black people.
When Trump announced J.D. Vance, you know all I heard was two people. Oh, he's white. See, he's just collecting a whole white group of people. Oh, the world's going to be white. This is how Trump wants it, with white people in it. But as soon as he puts a black man in charge of something in his administration, y'all want to call him Uncle Tom.
That's a good point. How many black people did he appoint to his administration?
So far, I know one.
How many whites? Take your time.
He's got gay, white, and Hispanic in his.
How many whites? How many whites?
I don't know. I don't know what their nationality is.
Take a guess. Take a guess on percentage. How many? You're not answering the question. You're not answering the question.
10 or 12.
10 or 12 whites and only one black.
Right? There's also a gay guy involved in this. But see, some of them people are Hispanic. You know what I mean? They're not completely. You know what I mean? Some of that, you have to look at that, bro. Not all them people are just.
I'll tell you something. If Biden's administration looked like Trump's administration, you would be saying Biden is racist. If he only had one black dude. If Biden only had one black dude, you'd be calling him racist.
Well, let me ask you this then.
Sure.
Then why are all the judges in these cities black? The police chiefs are black. The attorney generals are black. The district attorneys are black. And these cities are still the way they are. Who do we blame for that? You can't. Look, I just watched an investor thing the other day. I actually went to a seminar. And do you know why they don't invest in inner cities that are blue?
Why?
That are sanctuary cities? Because they're not tough on crime.
It's interesting you would say that, considering that most of them. It's interesting you would say that when you look at where most of the money in this country is located. It's in those cities, the blue cities you're talking about that are soft on crime. That's where most of the federal dollars come from in this country. Is those cities that you're talking about.
I'm talking about independent investors. We're not coming investing in the inner cities because of the crime.
Then where's the money coming from? If there's nobody invested in these cities.
The federal government's supporting inner cities.
You go to Chicago, all of the business there is all federal jobs. So there's no companies or nobody working in New York, no major private sector in Los Angeles at all. Just all government jobs.
But you go to the projects in the ghetto and there ain't no businesses.
But
they're not tough enough on crime. They're like a revolving door in jail. Let them out. I'll tell you, somebody look up Susan Eggman. She's a Democratic senator for California. She quit because of that reason.
You do realize that most of the big city is not loaded with projects in ghetto. There's a lot of good areas. No matter what big city you can come up with, it has good areas. The big cities are not just all ghettos and projects.
And that's why everybody's bitching about the migrants being in these cities, because they're overwhelmed in these cities.
Yeah.
Nobody's invested in them cities with that kind of shit going on.
I tend to disagree with you.
That's why we're going to change it up.
All right, I gotta move on, Robert. Always an interesting conversation with you. You know my door is always open to you. We don't have to agree on shit, but I'm all for free speech. Thank you.
I will always be friends with you, brother. You're a good dude, man. All right, Tim. How's it going, my friend?
You whooped my ass, but I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let me go back to the box. Let me move on from taking that crazy ass whooping. All right, looking in the comments. Nashville's heavily invested. Yeah, the big cities is where all of the damn jobs are at. That's where all the people are located. If there was not a lot of big city, not a lot of corporations invested in big cities, the people would go to where they were at. Because, I mean, that's where the jobs are. So there's a reason why there's so many people in big cities and not in rural areas. There's a lot more opportunities in big cities. So I don't know what he's meaning by everybody's leaving, because no matter, okay, if you got a company or corporation and you don't like the crime in a city, or you don't like the politics of that city and you move out, there are going to be other businesses that are going to see the opportunity you left behind and move in your place. Despite all of the crime that's in New York or in Los Angeles, there are always businesses willing to move there. It's not like sports teams are building big stadiums in rural Alabama. It's not going to happen. So I get it. Some folks don't like the politics of the big city, but others do. Others do. And it rotates. It rotates. Let me go back to the box. What does this have to do with anything? Gross numbers because of gross income, but it also has the highest cost of living. The reason it has the highest cost of living is because everybody want to fucking be there. Think of that. There's a reason why New York, LA, and Chicago have a high cost of living. Nobody want to be in rural Oklahoma, so you can get an apartment for $300 a month. That's why it has a high cost of living. People actually want to be there. They have airports, they have resources, they have opportunities. People want to be there. If people moved out of Chicago in droves, the cost of living would drop, like it is in Idaho or Montana or Wyoming. And must have, he said, there's still so many people everywhere that are racist and must have a totally different way of thinking about everything. I don't understand them. Yeah, I'll go back to the box, but a lot of that comes from little to no interaction with other people. If you're going to find far less racism, at least in my humble opinion, in environments where people deal with other people. And I'm not saying just white race. You can be black or Hispanic and be racist too, but it comes from not having interaction with others and going by what you see on television. I know because I watch a lot of Fox News. I've been watching Fox primarily for about 20 plus years now. I go all the way back to the Shep Smith days and when Alan Combs was still alive. And it's affected me to some degree when I go to, in the hood in big cities, because it is so negative, particularly on people like me. You watch Fox News, most of the coverage on people that look like me, it's negative. I mean, you don't normally see them at a college talking to black valedictorians or people graduating on the dean's list. It's usually mob robberies, carjackings, and things like that. So it can't, if you are someone that is white and you're sitting around watching Fox News all the time, and most of your associates and friends in the neighborhood is loaded with white people, and that's really the only contact you have, I could understand having an adverse opinion towards blacks because that's all you're being fed. Let me go back to the box. No different than if you go to Farrakhan's mosque all day and listen to Farrakhan talk about whites and you don't hang around any white people. Continuing on with the program. Drew. Good evening, Drew. Welcome. Fox covers store robberies. Why? I don't. Well, they cover store robberies mostly that are committed by people of color. I'll let you have it, Drew. Though.
Hello.
Hey.
No. They're trying to build a narrative so that they can make things appear to be a way that they're not necessarily. Because, like, dude that was just up here, I want to know what he's drinking because I need some of that. I would like to be that disassociated from reality.
Give me some. What did he say? Give me some examples.
The largest economy in the world.
Say that again.
California has the fourth largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
Even without the U.S. Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a fifth, but it is a huge economy. That is true. It has a huge economy in Florida, in California rather.
And then they realized that if you do it per capita, crime is high in other places too. Like Jim Jordan was on his way to bitch about crime somewhere, and they did the math, and crime had gone up 200% just in his region per capita.
Damn.
So if he'd actually looked at it per the 100, crime is like it is where the most people are.
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of folks don't seem to understand is that there's a reason why there's more crime in liberal cities. That, as you say, that's where the people are. It's going to be more crime when people are living on top of each other, different diversities and cultures. In most of Republican rural America, it's mostly white, straight, and Christian. A lot less reason to disagree when everybody thinks the same. But when you go in liberal cities, there are different cultures, there are different, gender issues, religions, all of that shit. I mean, so you're going to have a lot more reason to disagree. Plus, the people live closer and all on top of each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is amazing to me how quickly he buys into the narrative. And by the way, Matt Gaetz, we know about Matt Gaetz because of Kevin McCarthy. Matt Gaetz was aggravating Kevin McCarthy, so Kevin McCarthy outed him, and then said he was showing videos of him and said woman on the Congress floor.
Yeah, I heard that. I did hear he was. Crazy thing is though.
It happened at the RNC.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is though. I mean, I'm not defending Matt Gaetz, but it should have came out sooner. If you know this guy is doing all this shit, but as long as
who was in charge of the House? That would be Republicans.
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot keep Republicans from covering up their crime, and it's real funny how Trump's administration already, the new cabinet, has 3 members in it. Well, actually 4 who have been accused of SA.
Well, the right thinks all of those are made up, though.
Well, I mean, there's a police report on Hegseth.
Well, she called the cops and lied. You know what I'm saying? She called the cops and lied.
Well, I mean, the cops actually took all the information, listened to him and her, and sent it on and said it should be prosecuted. I don't know why it wasn't.
Somebody got a hold of it and swept something under the rug, probably.
And Gates' daddy's rich. Big time rich in Florida. He's an ex-politician his own self. Daddy's not going to let his precious junior get in no trouble. Are you kidding?
I'm hearing he may possibly...
This is the way the rich operate in America. They talk about, we don't want, children to be harassed. But as long as they give the rich a pass, they're going to be.
It's a good point. And I'm hearing that he may replace Marco Rubio.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean...
And Rubio's Cuban. Rubio is not Mexican. Because he's got Mexicans in his cabinet. He's got a Cuban in his cabinet. There's a huge difference.
Yeah, the Cubans vote different than Mexicans. What I'm saying is Trump can replace Rubio, I believe, without a vote, and he can put Matt Gaetz in as the Florida senator in Marco Rubio's place. That's what I'm hearing is likely to happen.
He won his own seat. He could go back in on his own seat. He said he don't want to.
Why would you go in as a congressman when you can go in as a senator?
I mean, I don't know.
That's a promotion.
I don't think Matt Gaetz will return. He's got. And not on the Democratic side either. There's a reason why he didn't, end up in the position he's in, and that's because Republicans said, "Oh hell no."
Yeah, but if Trump,
Republicans, I mean, it is so bad that Trump is willing to push his cabinet members past Congress because he knows Republican Congress won't vote for him, which is hysterical.
Yeah, but I think with the Senate, you have less people to convince, and I think if he made, because he can do not a recess appointment, whatever it is, he can replace Marco Rubio's vacancy without having to let them vote on it.
Because he hadn't been confirmed. Until he's confirmed, he can do anything he wants to.
Yeah, Marco Rubio's going to get confirmed.
Right, but I'm just saying, even if he put Gaetz in, he would still have to get him confirmed at some point.
I don't think not for Senate. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think that he has the ability to appoint a senator. If Marco Rubio steps down, I think he has the appoint. There's a loophole, I believe I've heard, that he can put Gaetz in without it going up for a vote. I believe he can do that without that.
He can put him in the Senate without a vote from his governor. But what I'm saying is he'll go into a very hostile environment because Republicans don't like him either.
Yeah,
so
but
we'll see how that turns out. Either way, it's not going to be good for Gaetz to go back in because once he becomes a member of Congress, the ethics board could reconvene.
Yeah, that could be a problem But if he goes in a Senate, I mean, the environment may be hostile to some degree, but if Trump is in there.
That's why he left. He left the day before the ethics committee was going to drop that thing, because then he could say, I'm not a member of Congress anymore, and y'all don't have that right. But the minute he goes back in, they can reconvene on him instantly.
Yeah. Well.
So Trump can't make the House and the Senate get rid of those charges.
Are they state charges? Because if they're federal.
Well, no, they're congressional. I mean, it's just like when Congress impeaches Trump. It's an ethics. It'll be a hearing. I'm pretty sure.
Is it something that Trump can make go away?
No, not in Congress.
You sure? Can't pardon him?
Not unless he gets the congressman to do his bidding. But no, Congress. Trump is not God. He is not king, and Congress is its own branch of government.
He ain't God or king, but he's pretty damn close. I mean,
Well, I mean, still, there are still three branches of government in this country, whether they're all rigged or not. They're still there.
But
and Republicans keep forgetting about Congress, and that's a problem for me, because Donald Trump and his executive orders, those executive orders are only good to the next president comes in there and wipes them out.
Oh yeah, I agree.
The only thing that lasts is legislation.
I mean, I agree with that, but I don't know. Well, let me ask you the actual topic what we were talking about. Trump on day one. Is there anything you're concerned that he might do? Because I know you don't favor Trump, so I'm not going to ask you what his what you believe his expectations are. But is there anything you're concerned and hoping he does not do on day one?
Well, I think a lot of the things he would like to do, he's not going to be able to do anyway, because he's not going to have the power.
Give me some examples.
He couldn't even get his own his handpicked cabinet through without having to delay Congress. It tells me he's not as strong as he thinks he is.
What do you think he wants to do that he's not?
I think he wants to deport people in this country, even if they're citizens, and their families, which is going to be another problem, because you're going to separate husbands and wives or children. But then Trump said they could all go. Well, that wife isn't a citizen of that other country. And none of these countries said they'd take any of these people back. And he hasn't done the due diligence or his homework. So, I mean, he's just going to cause a huge problem. Mexico's already said no.
You know what I'm saying? But even if what you're saying is true, I don't think that's going to be that big of a problem for Trump, because deporting citizens is like at the top of the pyramid. There's so much garbage at the bottom that even independents and liberals will support, like deporting criminals. I mean, you can just go after criminals.
He did that in the 40s, and it didn't look good. So he can try it again if he wants to, but it's not. It will put the mark on his presidency that he won't be able to take off. I think, because I think some of the American public at that point, when they start to realize the reality and the totality of what he's done. Because prices are going to go up even higher.
You're saying deporting criminals? Wait. You say deporting
things will go up even higher.
No. Andy. I said deporting criminals. You're saying that won't look good if he deports criminals?
Deport everybody.
Well, let's say he starts with criminals. Will that not be sufficient for?
I don't think he's capable of doing that. It'll have to be all of them or none.
I think he could do that.
These countries are not going to take these people back. He's going to have a fight on his hands. I'm just saying. I'm just going by what the law says.
I think if he avoids doing some of the stuff you're saying, because I would put it on a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid is deporting anchor babies and actual U.S. citizens. But at the bottom, deporting...
He's getting rid of his kids?
What?
His kids are leaving?
What I'm saying is don't go up to the top of the pyramid. Don't deport.
No. You missed what I was saying. You said he was deporting, you know what, babies? And I said, what, his kids are going?
Yeah, you talking about his wife being a citizen, born in Slovenia and having Barron and his kid being an anchor. I get what you're saying. But what I'm saying is if he don't do the deportation of anchor babies or the deportation of citizens, and he stick to deporting criminals and folks that are at the bottom, he could keep himself occupied and satisfy a lot of the American population without pissing people off. Because that's when you're going to have problems when you start deporting citizens.
I'm just saying I don't think he can get that done. That's just my personal opinion.
Even the criminals?
If he deported a lot of people and normal people too, other countries might accept them. But as it stands, he's going to have international problems with that.
You can pay people off and change that. threaten people. I mean, you can pay, Venezuela, you can offer to lift some sanctions off,
Maybe.
huh?
Maybe.
Like for instance, Venezuela, they just had an election, and America does not recognize the current leader that's in charge. We see it as a coup. If Trump went down there or sent a liaison down there and stated, "We will recognize your government, but you got to take some of these criminals back that came here," I think the Venezuela would play ball. I mean, just like when
maybe not. I don't know.
yeah, just like when George W. Bush.
I am not Republican. I'm not going to speak on things that I am not like that I don't know. So we don't know that would happen one way or the other. And I'm not like them. I'm not going to like. I'm just saying what he said he was going to do, and how I view that. That's it. Because all that other requires too much extra. Because you have to put all that extra stuff in there to get them out of here, and I just don't think that's possible.
I don't know. I think I said deporting citizens and anchor babies. I agree with you, but I believe there's millions of people you could actually deport without all of the fanfare that more Americans would support. I mean, you don't want to deport grandma that's been there for 30 years and ain't done anything wrong since entering the country illegally. But criminals and things like that, there's enough of them that you could get them and not have to go at the
Project 2025.
I've read enough of it to know it ain't some shit I like.
Well, then you know that they ain't settling for half. It's all or nothing.
You can only do so much in 4 years.
And the Heritage Foundation wants this shit wrapped up before the country's 250th birthday.
He can, unless he's in power for more than 4 years. Project 2025, as draconian as it is, there's only so much you can do in 4 years. As you pointed out, there's going to be all kinds of resistance.
For the FCC and Project 2025 is now the head of the FCC.
I know. I do know
That's funny how Republicans said that Trump didn't know anything about it, but the authors of the particular things they wrote are now in those cabinet positions.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And I said that. I said, when he said he didn't know anything about this, I said, let's see who he appoints. If he starts appointing authors of Project 2025, that will tell you something. And that's exactly what's happening. So I think everybody knew he was lying. If people are pinning some draconian document on you, the last excuse you should ever give is, I don't know what it is. You didn't read this? Half of America has read this shit?
He sues everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trump would sue anybody else for that same BS. Look what he's trying to do. And look, there's a point right there. Trump wants to take CBS off the air for not punishing 60 Minutes for editing a news story. Which was well be it with and if we were to go after them, wouldn't we have to take out Fox for what they do for Trump? I mean,
yeah, but they're going to push back and say that the liberals were working with Mark Zuckerberg and they had Twitter all leaning left until Elon Musk bought it. The liberals have done some media tricks too.
Wait, no. The liberals, you're talking about the politicians? No, they haven't. And no, Zuckerberg ain't ever come out and said, hey, I'll give you $1 million you sign up for something. No, this is the first time that's ever happened.
Zuckerberg admitted that the FBI
being investigated by other countries. So there's that.
Zuckerberg admitted that the FBI had him squashing stories that would be harmful to Democrats.
It wasn't harmful to Democrats. It was misinformation about C-19 to save lives. There's a huge difference. It wasn't to prosper or push up a Democratic candidate. It was only not to take like ivermectin. That was the difference. Now, had they been out there pushing for the Democrats, I'd agree with you.
I believe it was more than that.
The misinformation was about C-19, not the Democrats. Let's get that right.
And also Twitter before Elon Musk bought it?
Same thing. The only thing they asked him to do was remove the naked pictures of his son, which is technically revenge porn and illegal.
Why
That's all they asked for.
But you are admitting that the liberals were asking these companies to do things.
It's revenge porn. That's illegal.
All right. I don't disagree, but I'm just saying that liberals were involved in these media outlets.
If they had asked for anything else, like the story squash, that'd be different. But you asked for pictures that were illegal to put up there in the first place and shown to the public where children could see them. I mean, that is not okay that they did that at all.
Well,
But now let's also talk about the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene put those same revenge corn pictures on the floors of Congress, mailed them out to her recipients. But Alabama citizens can't have corn.
I can't
Shit, just go move into Marjorie's mailing district. She'll send it right to your house.
I can't speak on Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's no defense for her. I can't say nothing about her.
So, I mean, when you talk about protecting the country from a virus that caused more people in my state to pass away than were born because they listened to that dumb shit about ivermectin and the other one and took it and passed away from it, I don't consider that to be propping up the Democrats. I consider that to be propping up the people so they continue to live to get to vote again.
Didn't RFK promote ivermectin?
I don't know.
I think
I don't listen
did.
to RFK.
All right.
He's little, like,
all right, Andy.
The minute he cut the head off a whale on the beach, I'm like done with him.
I gotta go. All right, Andy. Appreciate you coming through. You too. Have a good one. All right, moving on with the program. And tap the screen, folks. Get the likes up to about 40,000. We might be to make that happen. Smash that like button on YouTube and TikTok. Want to respond to a few of the comments. I say, hella good, hella God, amen. I don't know what you're saying there. I got to put on my spectacles. Technically, they're all criminals if they're here without permission, not for Trump, just stayed in the fact. That is true, Damien, that if you came into America illegally, it doesn't matter how much of a good person you've been since you've been here, you are technically a criminal. I do agree with that. But that's what I was telling my last caller, that if Trump went after folks who have committed additional violations other than just entering the country illegally. I'm talking about the rapists and murderers, the ones he's talking about, the people who are eating pets. I mean, I'm talking about some of those additional major felonies that he's claiming is happening everywhere. I think that if he just went after those type of people, not grandma who climbed into the country illegally or crossed the Rio Grande illegally back in 1986, I think that if he went after folks who've committed additional violent felonies, he wouldn't have as much backlash from the American population. But yeah, if you got a grandma that has no documentation and she's at home watching the grandkids while the granddaughter's at work and she has nothing else on her record and she's been there for 20 years, yeah, you're going to have a whole lot of sympathy for somebody like that. A whole lot of sympathy. And like I said, Trump could deport millions of people before he ever gets to stuff like that. And he would satisfy MAGA. He'd satisfy a lot of immigrants. He would satisfy a lot of independents and not piss off as many Democrats if he did that, because even the Democrats are not going to be totally upset if he is deporting people and he can show that they've been committing violent felonies. You know, you're deporting people with all kinds of MS-13 records and face tattoos and cartel members. I don't think the Democrats are really going to make a fuss about that. But you start going after anchor babies and all of that stuff, yeah, you're gonna have a lot more pushback because it looks a lot less sympathetic. But we'll see what happens. Let me go back to the box. Amelia, you're free to leave, as someone else has said. Oh my God. This guy has a picture of Trump everywhere, but I can't tell if he's in favor of Trump, says Kimberly. The family should leave together now. I don't know if they can. DJT 2024, Donald J. Trump, in the comments, you're saying the family should leave together. I don't know if they can. If you are here illegally, for instance, and you give birth to a baby while you're in America, that baby is an American citizen. It is not a citizen of your home country. So I don't know for certain if you can take that kid back, because now you may be taking him somewhere where he's not a citizen of. They may have a right to say no. You're a citizen, but your baby is not. I don't know how that works. I mean, there would have to be some diplomatic discussions to make some of that stuff work. Sure, you can infringe on their constitutional rights, and there's going to be a lot of that, Mike. There's going to be a lot of that, as you were talking about earlier. Twisted 7. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Amendment 14. We may lose a few amendments out of this. Jeremy, good evening.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
You know what I'm going to say, hanging around like Jesse Jackson at a Klan meeting. So I'm asking, on day one, we're talking about Trump on day one, is there any concerns you have? Now, I'm assuming you pretty much favor everything he's promised, But is there any concerns, things you're hoping he does not do on day one?
Well, I hope he doesn't overlook specifically what the Texas law that is having the Bible being taught in schools. That's one thing I hope he doesn't do, is overlook that. I hope that he addresses that, because again, we are a nation and that has a secular government.
So you want him to maybe end that, or you want him to expand the Bible in schools?
I want him to end it. I want him to end it because I'm in favor of a lot of what Trump does, but he seems to kind of have overlooked like Oklahoma and Texas, and I don't think that's particularly good. I think that day one he should be more willing to go ahead and say no. This is not the country we have. We have a country that's supposed to be about everybody.
My guess is, because Trump has done so well with evangelicals, my guess is he's not going to get in the way of that. I've had plenty of MAGA, unlike yourself, but other MAGA come and tell me, it's given to the states. If the states want to put religion in schools, states' rights. This is why I'm concerned about this states' rights shit, is because it's expanding beyond abortion. Now some states have the right to force your child to read the Bible. I don't like it, but I mean, it does seem like they're starting to expand more and more on states' rights.
Yeah, and the only way that they could ever make this not a bad thing is if they said oh, now they have to read all religious text or something.
And they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that.
Nope. Because if you tried to force children in Oklahoma or Texas to read the Quran, they would get violent. They would really be pissed off about that. But they're okay forcing Muslim children to read the Bible. That doesn't sound like religious freedom. To me, that sounds like religious oppression or some kind of Christian supremacy to me.
Yeah, it does, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm willing to call out Trump, or people who like Trump when I feel that it's necessary, because I feel that that's the best way to keep someone honest, is to hold their feet to the fire, hold them accountable. Yeah. And I want Trump to be in, because I think that he's someone you can hold accountable. I think that he's someone who will do a lot of good things, but I think even though I'm agnostic, even if I was still Catholic, I would never consider him my God, because the only man that has ever walked this earth that I would ever call God is Christ.
And but you do notice, because you're talking about Trump not overlooking what happened in Oklahoma and Texas. No one on the right. You don't hear any outcry on the right at all for them doing that. When you heard certain books in schools in Florida, you had people all over the country complaining about that, whether it was LGBT issues in books or CRT or DEI. All over the country, people on the right were complaining that kids don't need to be forced to have LGBT issues shoved down their throats. Now that Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana and Arkansas have done that stuff, you don't hear any outcry on the right at all about Christianity being shoved down kids' throats. They're okay with it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a good thing. I've heard one person talk about it who was on the right, but I can't even remember his name, and it was one guy. Just one, and I don't even remember his name at this moment. Which is kind of sad, And here's the thing: I will go ahead and say that not everyone can pay attention to every issue all the time, and but
that's a whole state. That's a huge issue. That ain't one or two books in the library. That's a whole state where the kids have no say so.
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Sometimes there are just some things that people get so caught up on, like I know, Logic and Liberty. You've had conversations with her before, and she's very focused on on the trans question about whether people should be allowed to go into what they identify as when it comes to bathrooms. So I can understand if no one brings it up, then nobody knows. Kind of like the whole question of if there's a tree that falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? So I understand that, but even then, I think that more states are going to try to push the same thing.
Right?
And I think that.
Yeah, you went on mute, Jeremy. I don't know if his phone kicked in. We'll give him a moment. Yeah, are you there?
Sorry about that. I had to deal with a family member. Okay. I had to move to a different room.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that as more states do this, eventually more people are going to be like, okay, what's going on? Is this becoming a bigger issue? I think you'll see places like Utah and probably some other.
All of the Bible Belt states are going to do it. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. Maybe Georgia, I don't know, but Florida, you probably have it in the
Georgia's a little conservative, funky, so
maybe,
it's a little different.
maybe the Carolinas, both of them probably gonna try it. West Virginia's probably gonna try it. You may see it in Ohio and Indiana, where Mike Pence is from. I mean, it's gonna spread. You are correct. There's gonna be states forcing children to partake in Christianity, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and I think over time you're gonna see people kind of be like, okay, this can't go too far. But it makes you wonder, is the right going to become what the left is right now? Because the left is kind of a joke.
I think that's a good point. I think there's a real good chance, because that's one of the reasons people are saying that Kamala Harris lost by so much, is that the liberals went too far to the left. This Bible stuff is a perfect example of going too far to the right. Not to mention that whole a woman doesn't have a choice even if her life's on the line, or rape and incest. That's going too far to the right. The right is starting to do that as well. Now, let's assume Project 2025 is just some made up fantasy. But if some of that stuff starts happening, yeah, it's going to be way too far to the right.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. And here's the thing: look at how the conservatives were seen in the '90s and in the '80s and stuff like that, in the early 2000s. Green Day had their song "American Idiot" and everything like that. They were kind of like the butt of the joke, but then they kind of reversed over time. Yeah. So it doesn't take very long for the pendulum to swing.
Yeah.
But then again, you could see the exact same thing. Like, let's say maybe over the next. Say 10, let's give it 15 years. Let's say 15 years that the conservatives get too out of control and they go too far with what they're doing. I think then you'll see a swing back to the insanity of the left again, and then back to the right and back to the left, because that's kind of how a lot of American politics work, and they kind of balance each other out. It's like a pendulum that goes in both directions.
Yeah, I don't think it even needs to take 10 years when you got a Supreme Court, because we can talk about the left being too far to the left, but they didn't have a Supreme Court that is as biased as the one we have now. I mean, we could soon be dealing with a Supreme Court that has 5 justices that were appointed by one guy, and that one guy is in the White House, and he's in control of both houses of Congress. This is as far to the right as you can kind of get. The left has never had that much power.
Yeah, hopefully, though, they don't add on any more justices to the total amount that you could have on there, because that would just be packing the court, and that would be bad for both sides of the aisle. You want to keep the numbers as low on both sides.
That depends on how far to the right they go. If they go too far to the right, I don't think the left is going to have a problem packing the courts. That would be just like if some of the things Trump was saying that were going to come true if Kamala Harris had got elected, like your kid going to school one gender and coming home the next, or somebody eating your pets. I don't think the right would have had a problem packing the courts if it helped move the country away from the liberals. So with the country going very far to the right, I don't think the left will have a problem with it if they get in there and they start doing all this really far right stuff. Like, let's say they come up with a national abortion ban and stuff like that, which a lot of people believe they're going to come up with. I think that you could see the Democrats saying, look, the normal way to do things will take way too long, because he's put in a bunch of Supreme Court justices that are all, 45, 50 years of age. I mean, this is going to be this way for another generation or so unless we do something.
Yeah, that could be pretty bad. Again, I just hope that neither side tries to pack the courts. Or it's because, I understand that there's going to be years where it's more liberal and there's going to be years where it's more conservative. But hopefully we both realize that it's a double-edged sword if you start packing courts, because both sides have the ability to do it. Once one side does it, everyone can do it.
Yeah, well, some would say that the moment what was his name? Not Merrick Garland. What's the Supreme Court he had? I can't think of the guy from Kentucky that prevented Obama from putting in Merrick Garland. Some would say that was the time where they started already affecting the Supreme Court, when they prevented Obama from making a legitimate pick. So if the liberals come along and pack the courts, a lot of folks are going to point back to that and say, well, if you wanted the Supreme Court to be dealt with fairly, you shouldn't have let him do that. Because Obama had a legitimate Supreme Court pick, and they pulled Mitch McConnell, yeah, and they pulled they just pulled a stunt out of their asses to prevent Obama from making a legitimate pick.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Old turkey neck was a real pain in the ass there.
And the right was totally in favor of that. The right didn't have any problem with him doing that. And then when it was Trump's time to make a pick that was even closer to election day, they came up with a bunch of bullshit excuses for why. Well, now it's okay to do this. So if the Democrats get in there and they pack the Supreme Court, I can guarantee you that's going to come up. Like, you guys didn't have a problem with this because that is a small method to pack the Supreme Court. That means the Republicans got an extra Supreme Court justice that they should not have had. They packed a court justice on their side by using this backdoor loophole or whatever the hell you want to call it. But it was unethical, but it wasn't criminal, so they got away with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be the case. That's unfortunate. But again, hope. I have hope. I have hope that Trump will be like, I know how this is going to affect the country. I'm gonna call out Texas and Oklahoma for what they're doing, and like maybe he'll make a public statement at first, and then maybe he'll make an executive order.
You really think Trump is going to interfere with those states shoving Christianity down the throats? You really think he's going to speak up on that?
Fingers crossed. You know, he used to be a Democrat, so you never know.
I would not hold my breath. You're going to be turning a nice, attractive shade of blue if you do that. I got to move it on though, Jeremy, but I don't think he's going to interfere with that at all. The evangelical base has been very loyal to Trump. He rewards loyalty. He's not going to punish them by getting rid of Christianity in schools, something they've been wanting probably for a few generations now.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
By the way, do you think Mitch McConnell is part turkey?
I gotta go. Appreciate it. Oh, Jeremy.
Have a good one.
Jesus Christ. Hey, have a good weekend, by the way, man. Moving on with the program. Jeremy is starting to waver. I can hear it in his... No, I think what he's talking about there is a legitimate case. Now, Jeremy is MAGA. He leans right, talking about my last caller. I don't think he's wavering. I think that even though he favors Trump, favors right-wing policies, he's reasonable enough to see where you may have went too far. And forcing kids to partake in Christianity, regardless of what religion they're in, that is going too far. And I applaud Jeremy, and being MAGA, for coming out and saying that. Now, I don't think what he was saying is going to happen. I don't think Trump's going to do anything about it, but I do applaud him for saying that. Ed G, the left has already been, does that say shoving dildos down our throat? Let me make sure I'm reading this right. I got to pull out my spectacles. Yeah. He said, where's the left shoving dildos? Oh my God. That ain't happening, Ed. That is not happening. Shame on you. Should I elaborate? Yeah, let me know where the left is shoving dildos down people's throats. Who is forcing kids to become Christian? No one. I didn't say they're forcing them to become Christian. You're forcing them to read the Bible and partake in Christian stories. Why does a child need to read the Bible in school? Why? You go to school for a well-rounded education to prepare you for life. There's nothing in the Bible that a child needs to know to prepare them for life. And I will submit that to you by saying that all of us, we all went to school and they didn't force the Bible on none of us, and we're okay. That's Christians wanting to have their way. That's not necessary. You're shoving Christianity down the throats of kids. If they don't want to read the Bible, they shouldn't have to. Other than trying to indoctrinate kids at a young age and make Christians out of them. By the way, this is the same shit that people were saying about promoting LGBT issues in schools, is that children were impressionable youth, and if you push LGBT issues on them, you have a chance of affecting their gender identity. But now when it comes to possibly changing them to be Christians, you're totally okay with it. It's shoving something down the throats of kids. You just agree with it this time, so you're going to give it a pass. Learn TDS from the Godfather films. Never hate your enemies. It affects your judgment. Michael Corleone, respect the Don, come home to the GOP. You're not going to get that, Damien. When you say learn Trump, I guess that's Trump derangement. You learned about Trump derangement syndrome from the Godfather. As far as I'm concerned, Trump derangement syndrome is a diagnosis that you can only get if you dislike Trump. I could draw a picture of Trump, have it tattooed on my forehead, paint Trump's face all over my car, Trump flags all over all of my property, and nobody would say I have Trump derangement syndrome. even though that is deranged as fuck. The only time you can get derangement syndrome is when you dislike Trump. I don't know who came up with that diagnosis, but it's crazy. Thank you, Allison. These people who can't read anyway. So continue with the program. Biden gave Trump TDS for 4 years. What Biden, if you're going to say that there's a such thing as Trump derangement syndrome, then there should also be Hillary Clinton derangement syndrome. Trump talked about Hillary Clinton just as much as liberals talked about Trump. Long after he defeated Hillary Clinton and she was no longer running for office, he continued trashing her, to lock her up, continued at all the rallies, all of that. Did he not have Hillary Clinton derangement syndrome? Or do you believe Trump is innocent and she is guilty, so you excuse Trump for doing it and you're not a fan of people doing it to Trump? But he would have had Hillary Clinton. By the definition of how you're saying TDS goes, then he should have had HDS because he was doing the same thing. Michael Cohen said Trump don't have a brain. Michael Cohen says Trump don't have the brain power to read Project 2025, says Ebal. You know, I talked to Michael Cohen. I'll go back to the box. I interviewed Michael Cohen for about a half hour the day before he was going to testify before Congress, and I asked him, one of the main questions I asked him is this: how do you expect to have credibility when you're going around telling people how awful this guy is and you had no problem working for him for 20 plus years as long as you got a paycheck? The minute he cut you off, now you want to be an angel and tell us everything about him. It's pretty clear that as long as he kept paying you, you didn't give a damn about any of the corrupt stuff you're saying he did. Now, how do you expect to have credibility going before a jury with them knowing that? Now, he was going to testify before Congress the next day, and that's what I was asking him. Like, you know, and I told him, you know, I brought up a few things, like him claiming that he helped hide the payment to Stormy Daniels by using a home mortgage on his own house. And he said he told me he had to hide that payment from his wife. And I'm like, you better hope there's no women on that jury. I said, because you come across as bad as the guy you're there to testify against. You knew what he was doing. Not only did you help him hide it from his wife, you're admitting that you also hid it from your wife as well. Like, you don't look no better than him. He thought when I came on there I was going to be friendly because everybody on his page is friendly, but I talked to him about a half hour and it was a good conversation, buddy. I may have asked Michael Cohen too many questions. He will always trash talk his opponents. He's a dirty and cutthroat guy. And I don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Trump or are you talking about Michael Cohen, Antonio? Both of them do it. Both of them do it. And I'm going to the box now, but remember when Trump met with Biden a couple of weeks ago when he went to the White House to meet with Biden, and he sits down with Biden and he goes, you know, politics can be a dirty business, but it's a good day today. He was pretty much admitting, yeah, I trashed you like shit and I mistreated you, but, you know, I won now. So, I mean, that's his way, because Trump, you know, his own son said he doesn't apologize for anything. That was his way of acknowledging, I probably dragged you through the mud way more than I should have. He said, you know, politics can be a dirty business. No, you were doing that. That's why it was you made politics way more dirtier than what it was. But I think that was his backdoor way of trying to let Biden know nothing personal. Twisted77, good evening.
Hi, handsome. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And by the way, folks, the folks that are tapping the screen on TikTok, I do want to say thank you. Some of you folks are getting the likes up to about 50,000. So I'm asking, Twisted, you already know what I'm asking. You've been on hold, but is there anything you're concerned with? Now, I know you're MAGA, correct?
I voted for Trump, yeah.
Okay, but you don't consider yourself MAGA. Did you vote for him the first time?
I did.
16, 20, and 24?
Yes.
What's the difference between you and MAGA?
I don't necessarily espouse everything they do.
Okay. What have you seen MAGA do that you don't favor?
Well, before we get into that, I want to talk about what you said about Matt Gaetz.
Sure.
Because that was an outright lie.
Give me what did I say that's a lie?
You said he was under investigation and he was probably going to be charged soon.
That
was the lie.
He is under investigation, and I believe he was...
Hold on.
Okay.
He was under investigation by an ethics committee The DOJ investigated him for 3 years and found no credible evidence and did not charge him for anything.
Okay.
You failed to mention that.
So you said what I said was a lie. Now you said I failed to mention something.
Well, isn't there no mention a lie?
No. There's no need for me to admit.
Well, then you didn't know about it then, because you said
Hold on.
the same thing that the View said, and they had to go out and apologize.
So if what my omission,
because you're misleading people.
Hold on, hang on.
Let me say he's going to be charged soon because you think he's going to be charged soon, but that ain't going to happen.
So
because there was no evidence to charge him with.
So what? So
DOJ investigated.
Let me get in here somewhere. I get your point. I get your point. Let me get in here. So based on what you're saying, when Trump says to lock Hillary Clinton up and she should be locked up, he should admit that she was investigated by Congress and they didn't find anything.
No, that ain't true either.
That is true. She testified for 11 hours.
What did they say? They said they weren't going to bring any charges out there at that time because there was an election going on.
And he should mention that, right?
He should, yes, sure.
Okay, so he's lying by omission.
But, okay, you want to say that?
That's what it sounds like you're saying.
But there's a huge difference there. They said they weren't going to charge her because there's an election. They said there was no evidence against Gates to charge him.
Wait a minute. First of all, when you say they said they're not going to...
That's a huge difference.
No, it's not.
That's
because
a huge difference.
Here's the problem. No, it's not. Here's the problem. You're saying they said they were not going to charge Hillary Clinton because there was an election. Okay, then after the election and Trump takes power, he's still going around saying she should be locked up. There's no election now. Why don't you charge her?
You have to ask Trump that. I don't know.
Right. So if you're going to say what I'm saying is a lie because I'm not saying things, then he is doing it too.
You're pivoting. You're pivoting, though.
No, what I'm saying is you're criticizing me.
You're bringing up something completely different.
No,
what I said was you said out of your mouth that they were probably going to charge him soon, which was an outright lie.
No, I said they were likely to charge him.
If you knew anything about it, how would they have charged him? When they already said there was nothing to charge him for.
How do you know they're not?
The Department of Justice investigated him for 3 years and said there's nothing there to charge him with.
So then why the hell is he trying to prevent us from knowing what was there?
Who said he was?
Are you kidding me?
They said that. They said, well, he quit because of this ethics. They said that. He never said that.
So you're telling me that Matt Gaetz is actively doing nothing to prevent his investigation from coming out. He's not trying to prevent it at all.
No, I'm saying exactly that.
Yeah, I think you're lying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's exactly, because you have if there's no evidence to charge him with anything, why does he care?
You need
Other than to smear him, what's the point? Other than to smear him, what is the point?
Maybe the point is the point is for people to know what the hell he was going to be the nation's top cop. If they're investigating him, suggesting that he may or may not have committed a major sex crime, why shouldn't the American people get to know what the hell they investigated him for?
That's fine, but again, they did not find any evidence to charge him of anything. So if that's the case, what the hell were they investigating as far as that's concerned?
I think
if the DOJ already did that work, and found nothing, then what is the ethics committee doing?
I think where you and I
investigating him after that.
I think where you and I disagree is where you're claiming that Matt Gaetz had no problem with his investigation being shown to the public. I disagree with that 100%.
Why?
Because he resigned. Everything about it shows that guy had no interest in letting the public see the details of that investigation.
But again, if there was an investigation done by the Department of Justice, I'm not talking about the Ethics Committee. I'm talking about the Department of Justice investigating somebody. So if I investigate you for a crime, you personally, okay? Mm-hmm. Say I'm investigating you for a crime, okay? And I find no evidence to charge you of anything. And then somebody else comes on, well, we're going to check and see again. We're going to check his ethics now. Does that make sense? When I already did the investigation and found squat,
I think it would make.
Now they're going to do an ethics investigation. Does that make any sense to you?
I think it would make sense to you, and I'll tell you why. I've been hearing nothing from MAGA. Now you said you're not MAGA, but I've been hearing nothing from Trump supporters. But the DOJ is untrustworthy. You can't rely on them. Now all of a sudden, because they cleared Matt Gaetz, they're suddenly trustworthy now. Maybe they didn't do their job right in that case either.
Did I say that?
No, I'm
Did I
saying
say
it. I'm
that?
saying it. I am saying it.
Okay, but do you trust the DOJ?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know?
Let me give you my answer. The fact that they continued investigating him after the DOJ found nothing shows that maybe I'm not the only one questioning their trustworthiness.
Or maybe they just don't like Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. It's just
I mean,
odd.
He's not very well liked in Congress, and you know that as well as I do.
It's just kind of odd that when the DOJ investigated Trump, nobody wanted to take their word on how they found things on Trump. But then when they do it on Matt Gaetz and they find that there's nothing there, suddenly we want to quote the DOJ and say, well, see, they said there's nothing there. You don't trust the DOJ. So you're going to pick and choose when they're trustworthy and when they're not.
Because, okay, I'll go with that. If I think the DOJ is crooked and is investigating Trump because of trumped up BS, okay, then why wouldn't they do the same thing to Gaetz? If there was something there, anything there they could have charged him with, wouldn't they have?
I don't know. I don't know who was over the case.
You don't think so?
You
don't think so?
I don't.
Crazy?
I don't know who was over the case. Just like
yeah. Keep it up. That doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense. And it damn sure didn't make any sense when you guys said the same thing regarding Trump. You see how suddenly when I'm saying the same stuff you guys are saying, how it all of a sudden it doesn't make any sense now?
It makes perfect sense to me. If I think they're crooked,
based on what?
And they had a shred, an ounce of evidence to go after Gaetz, they would have, but they found nothing.
Okay, all right. And what them going after Trump? What evidence do you have that they're crooked?
What evidence?
Yeah,
that's just my thoughts. I don't have any evidence.
So all of this is just going.
I'm allowed to have an opinion. Okay?
So am I.
But you see, it's always the pairing with you. But the fact of the matter is, you're lying through your damn teeth. Because if you knew anything about the case, which you did not know anything, and I've said this to you before, so either you're ignorant or you're a liar. Which is it?
I'm going on my thoughts, and according to you, I'm allowed to have an opinion. How's that?
But these are speaking on facts here.
You ain't speaking on facts. I just asked you what proof. I just asked you what proof.
If you had known that, you would have never said they're going to charge him soon. They're probably going to charge him.
I just asked you what proof.
You would have never said that if you knew anything about it.
I just asked you.
And you didn't say anything.
Okay, I just asked you what proof do you have that they're crooked on Trump? And now you tell me we're going on facts. No, you made it clear. I'm going on the way I feel. You're going on facts.
Right.
I mean, you're going on opinion.
Okay, but that's different.
How?
Completely different. That's completely different.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It really is.
No, it's not.
Because you trust the DOJ. You trust
Says
you
who?
trust Biden's DOJ.
Says who?
You voted for the guy.
And
now you're telling me you don't trust his DOJ?
That don't mean
why would you vote for him?
Because there's other things I may like.
Why would you vote for Kamala then?
Because there's other things I may like.
But you don't trust the Justice Department.
I don't know. The Justice Department in this country has never been trustworthy for people like me.
Oh, now it's not trustworthy. Which is it?
That's what I asked you. It's crazy because you came on here to criticize me, and literally everything you use to criticize me can apply to you. Everything you use to criticize me. We started out by saying I'm a liar and I omitted stuff. And the minute I started pointing out where you were favorable to Trump doing the same things, you didn't like it. Go ahead.
Now you lost my train of thought.
Take your time. I'll give you a moment.
Okay, wait. No. By your own logic, that you don't trust the DOJ either, then why can't you question the charges against Trump?
I do question the charges against Trump. I even admitted that some of that stuff is likely because he ran for president, just like it is against Hunter Biden. Some of that stuff is only there because just like the whole thing about Hillary Clinton, not all of a sudden that she's no longer running for president, nobody's yelling lock her up. They don't care about her anymore.
True.
Yeah.
Even though she's still saying that, since 2016, that they cheated and she lost and it was a bogus election.
And Trump is saying he had nothing to do with
it. I know. They criticize Trump for it all the time.
Well,
and so do I. Because It's over. It's done with. Get it out of your head.
Well, Trump
She's still saying it, and not a single person criticizes her.
because the difference in actions they're twisted. I mean, wow. Hillary Clinton is saying she won, just like Al Gore is saying he won. But they didn't have January 6th. They conceded the election. They showed up to the inauguration. They shook the other person's hand. They didn't do all the additional stuff that Trump did. Trump took it way further than just simply saying he won. I mean, he started saying that Biden stole the election from him and everything. He started blaming Dominion voting machines, blaming poll workers. I mean, he accused a bunch of people of major felonies. Hillary and Al Gore didn't do that.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on a second now. Because in 2016, wasn't it Elizabeth Warren that was blaming Dominion voting machines?
You're talking about the president. I don't know about no Elizabeth Warren. I mean,
she gave a warning about Dominion voting machines, how they weren't secure in 2016 after Trump won.
It's a big difference between saying Dominion voting machines are not secure and saying that they're literally switching votes from Trump to Biden. He didn't say they weren't secure. He started saying they were committing felonious acts.
You're right, he did. But the point is, when it was said by one, it was, well, it's a concern. But when it's said by the other one, well, it's bullshit.
Well, it's a different, like I just told you.
You're right. Now, you're right in the fact that I think Trump took it way too freaking
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Elizabeth Warren gets up there and says the machines are not secure, then you can, well, show me how they're not secure. And I'm assuming because the machines are electronic, if you're savvy enough, maybe there's a way to hack into the machines, which is why they didn't sue Elizabeth Warren. Like, Trump didn't just say the machines ain't secure. He's saying they were compromised, and he can't prove that.
I know that, and I don't agree with that.
Big difference. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's a big difference.
And as far as why Kamala lost, because she didn't have a platform. Her only platform was Trump bad. And that may have worked for Biden in 2020 because of everything that's happening there. And you know what? The buck stops with the president. So everything that was going on about the 19.
Thank you.
They blame Trump for it, and rightly so, because he's the president.
I gotta push back on. And by the way, Big Bird, thank you for that galaxy. I do appreciate that. Thanks for showing the program some love. I disagree that she did not have a platform because you're blaming her for wide open borders. You're blaming her for late term abortions. You're blaming her for LGBT issues. Clearly, she has a platform. You don't like it. You're saying all kinds of things that are part of her platform.
Yeah, but every time, what happened every time she went for an interview? Did she really answer any questions?
No, but
I mean, even CNN was saying that she wasn't answering any questions.
No, but you guys are answering questions. You're filling in the blanks for what her platform is. So clearly you felt she had a platform.
Not really. I didn't know what her platform was. I didn't know what she planned.
I'm talking about Trump.
She never laid anything out.
I'm talking about Trump. All of the things that Trump said, her and the baby support putting her and the doctor support, she supports the doctor and a woman putting the baby to the side. And
that stuff, I don't, listen, when any candidate, and I don't care who it is, says crap like that about the other side, I never listen to it.
Going to school.
Because I know they're always exaggerating and running their mouth. I only care about what they say they're going to do.
Okay.
Not what the other person is going to do, because that doesn't matter to me.
So let me ask you. So you think that when
somebody's running for office, they should tell me why I'd vote for them, not why I shouldn't vote for the other person.
So you do think Trump was lying about some of the stuff on Kamala Harris then?
Probably, or at least exaggerating.
So
but either way, but she was doing the same thing.
So I guess so then I'm wondering then if you believe that he was lying. Now I get you saying she was doing the same thing, but she's no longer in the running. What else do you think it was lying about? Do you think some of his signature promises might be lies?
Such as?
Largest deportation in history.
Love to see it.
That ain't what I asked you though.
Do I think it's a lie?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a lie at all.
Giving police immunity from prosecution?
Is that what he said?
Yes.
I mean, if he did, I don't agree with that at all.
Do you think it's a lie?
I don't know.
That's frightening. So in other words, he might do that. Even your dog don't like it.
Well, she's upset because she's in timeout.
She don't want to be stopped and frisked.
Nah, but the whole cop thing, you know what? I don't think anybody will ever vote on that as far as vote for it. I don't think that'll ever happen. and it shouldn't ever happen.
All right. I got to move it on, but what about this whole Project 2025? What do you think? He don't know nothing about that at all?
I mean, even the Heritage Foundation came out and said he wasn't part of it. So what more do you want?
He said he didn't know nothing about. Well, you think the Heritage Foundation, who is going to likely use his administration to implement this very unpopular project, you think they're going to come out and say, yeah, he knows all about it? Of course they're going to tell you that.
I mean, come on, man.
You think the Heritage Foundation was going to come out and admit that?
Okay. Prior to them telling you about this Project 2025, have you ever heard of it?
No.
Me neither. No idea. Where did it even come from? Except the Heritage Foundation has been around for years and has gone to every president with a plan.
So you do believe that when Trump said he didn't know nothing about it and he hasn't never heard of it, you believe that's true?
Yes, I do.
But the American public knew about it and he didn't, but his name is in it.
No, the American public knew what about it.
They knew about it when he told them, when he said he didn't know nothing about it. At that point, a large portion of the American public knew about it. And he was saying he didn't know about it.
Okay.
And you believe that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that. I got to move it on as always. Twisted.
Have a good one.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. And I will say this. Trump is outspoken in regards to things that are critical of him. They got his name is in Project 2025, like I think a few hundred times, dozens of times. And he don't know anything about it, but the American people do. That's hard to believe. I mean, you would assume that somebody would have came to him and told him, sir, this may not look good. This is out here. They're using your name in it. You need to familiarize yourself with this. You may get asked questions on this on the Sunday shows and stuff. I don't know about it. As late in the game as he was when he said that, in my opinion, is not believable. It's not believable. There's just no way somebody had not come to him. But the American public knows about this and you don't. And it's centered around you. Nobody at all in your entire administration came to you and said, sir, you need to check this out. Your name. Not one person ever came to you that. I don't buy that. I just don't buy it. And then, of course, like I said, we'll find out if all of a sudden he starts appointing people in his administration that were part of it. That has happened. That has already started to happen. Looking in the comments, it's like you write a paper on know your favorite coach should run his team. Do you think he will really pay? I don't understand that. It's like you write a paper. It's like you write a paper on know your favorite coach. I don't know where you're going with that, because I know when I'm talking about Trump, the people around Trump know him. I gotta assume they know him enough to know that if I write a book and tell them to read the book, it's not going to work as well as me sitting down and having a conversation with him. How long does it take to call the guy and say, look, this Project 2025 shit that's out here, it's got your name in it in a bunch of places. Sir, you need to get ahead of this, because it's almost a guarantee the news is going to ask you questions about this. The media is going to question you on this. Giving an answer like, I don't know what it is, at that stage in the game is not believable. That's all I'm saying. It's not believable. Too many everyday average Americans knew what Project 2025 was at the time when he said he did not know. That's just not believable. The president of the Heritage Foundation endorsed Harris. Yeah, just like Putin. Vladimir Putin endorsed Kamala Harris. As I told my last caller, if they're going to use Trump, if they believe that Trump is the key to getting this very unpopular direction for America implemented, they're not going to come out and admit the guy is part of it to ruin his chances of getting elected. Of course, they're going to give you every twist and turn possible to steer you off that path. Why would they be honest with you? If the Heritage Foundation was so damn honest, they would have told people about Project 2025 a little bit better. The fact is, they were trying to keep that under the wraps. So why would they come out and tell you, well, when you look at what's in Project 2025, You look at the Heritage Foundation, and you look at what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were talking in terms of the LGBT issues and things like that. They're pro religious freedoms and shit like. It makes no sense at all that the leadership of the Heritage Foundation would endorse Kamala Harris. When you look at how she was running the country, whether we're talking about open borders, as people say, or LGBT issues, look at what the Heritage Foundation stands for, and look at what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did for the country, and you tell me that it makes sense that they would endorse Kamala Harris. First question to ask is, why? Why would you endorse Kamala Harris? That makes no sense at all, other than I'm going to tell you a bold-faced lie so you don't steer toward Trump. It makes no sense at all. Let me go back to the box. I mean, just the entire politics of the Biden-Harris administration and the direction that Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation is talking about, it makes no sense that they would endorse Kamala Harris. That makes zero sense. Going back to the box, we'll go back to Fairchild. Good evening. Yeah, the whole Kamala Harris thing, that's laughable. That is laughable. I would be curious to walk up to some of them folks and ask them who they voted for. I bet you there's a few MAGA flags and stickers around the Heritage Foundation endorsing Kamala Harris, my ass. Jay, good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Hey, good to have you on. So what brought you in tonight?
I'm sorry?
What brought you on tonight? What you hear?
I actually tried to get on your show a couple of times. This is like my third try, I believe.
Third time's a charm.
So here's the thing. Now, the Heritage Foundation, I don't believe that. I mean, I think I'm with you on that one. I don't see why Trump supported somebody said 68% of what they wanted, what the Heritage Foundation wanted. Mm-hmm. 68% is a big number.
Right. And I don't believe Kamala Harris supported the other 32% of it either. I doubt if Kamala Harris is doing anything they like.
Right. But what I wanted to get with you on is some of the things that went back and forth between both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans.
Okay.
Now, I am a Trump supporter. I will say that. But at the same time, this backstabbing, pushing a knife in each other with these campaigns was, to me, ridiculous. Flat out ridiculous. Yeah. I didn't stand behind Trump for any of it. I thought Trump should push his policies and his beliefs when he ran his campaign. He didn't always do that. That kind of ticked me off.
Yeah.
But I noticed a lot of people on the Democratic side, their biggest vote was AB.
What is it? Oh, yeah.
I don't understand that either. Like, I don't get it. Why is AB a big part of why you would vote for somebody?
Well, anytime somebody is used to having a privilege or a right and you take it away, they're not going to like it. I don't care if it's in the Constitution or not. Obviously, AB, unlike the Second Amendment, is not in the Constitution. By the way, thank you, DJ Julio. Yeah. The fact is, this is something people have been using for the last 50 plus years. When you take away something that people have become accustomed to, they're not going to like it. And then in the case of taking away AB, there's all kinds of draconian punishments coming with it. I mean, there's several states that are talking about a woman should qualify for the death penalty if she has an AB without, if she has an illegal AB. I mean, some women are going to go to jail. Some women may lose their lives. I mean, the outcome is bad. I mean, this isn't something they should just happily cheer on. Also, and I'll let you continue on, but another reason why they're going crazy over AB as well is because the women had no say-so in it. Trump is talking about, look, we gave it back to the states. None of those states gave the women in those states any right to vote. They just took it away and said, this is the law now. Now, if they had to put it up for a vote, then we could have this whole states' rights conversation. But what he essentially did is handed it to state dictators who just simply said, we're going to tell you what we want to give you.
Right. So here's the thing. And now that brings a question to me, because Like a lot of that I don't always understand. So if Trump pushes it back to the states for the states to allow the people in that state to vote on it, shouldn't there be some kind of enforcement if the states say, well, we're not going to let them vote, we're just going to make a law and that's going to be it? Like, shouldn't Trump be able to push something that makes them let the state vote?
No, because the thing about it is before Roe v. Wade before Roe v. Wade was put in there, it was for the most part against the law in every state to terminate the life of a child. So once they rolled it back, those states went back to laws that were already on the books. Now, almost all of those laws that were on the books before women even had the right to vote at all. People like me didn't have no right to vote. They went back to those old laws that were already in place. And they said, well, this is the law of the land now. We got a law back from the 1800s that says a woman can't do this. It's already still on the books. So the minute they lift Roe v. Wade up, they went back to that old law.
Now, see, I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, I just want to say that, but I heard that ABs, 98% are used for birth control.
I've heard so many. I had somebody come on the show the other day and told me only 1% are used for birth control. I don't believe that, but I did have somebody tell. I don't know what percentage is used for birth control or not, but my take is this: even if it is being used for birth control, if you're going to force that person who has told you from day one, I do not want to be a mother, to be a mother, and you're not going to do anything to help her, I don't see how that's a good thing. Let's say, if I'm strung out on heroin, for instance, and I get pregnant, do you really think making me carry a baby to term where I'm strung out is a good thing for me or that baby?
Probably not.
Yeah. So none of this stuff was factored in that. I mean, some of these cases, like the kid in Ohio was like 10 years old and got assaulted by her dad or something like that, and they were trying to make that person have a kid.
I see that as a whole different ballgame. I mean, if you're raped, incest, or something like that, like that's a whole nother ballgame as far as where AB would play a role. And I'm not against it, but I don't honestly know how much AB is being used for birth control, but I don't believe it should be.
Right. I understand and respect that take. I'm 100% pro-choice, but I can respect it. I just will say this. If you're going to pass laws that are undoubtedly going to create a lot of unwanted children, where are the laws to help take care of them?
Right. I mean, there really ain't.
Right. So that's a mess. So what you're going to have is a bunch of children being born to moms that either don't want them and can't afford them, or children going into foster care. I don't hear anybody talking about creating social programs to beef up the wages, to beef up the resources in foster care where a lot of these kids are going to go, or help the moms out. I don't hear nothing about that. They're just simply talking about.
And that's the thing. Like, foster care is overrated. Like, there's so many foster homes out there throughout the entire country, and a lot of them are packed. They're like at capacity. They can't take no more. Some are only allowed to take 2.
Right.
Depending on the household and bedrooms and so on and so forth, some might have 4. But once they're at capacity, that's it. They can't take no more. If you got 300 kids that need to be foster cared because of situations like this, it ain't gonna work.
No, and that's what. And I see in the comments, Biden. Somebody being critical of Biden. Biden sniffed me is the person's name, saying close your legs. That is the Republicans' answer to this stuff. Just close your legs. Kind of like when George W. Bush was saying just say no. I mean, it's a biological urge. You're not going to get people to stop doing that.
Let me say that. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I'm kind of against it. I'm 49 years old. I got 5 kids of my own. I pay child support. But, I'm not going to say my kids were planned, but I'm not going to turn my back on them.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have men out there that do. soon as she gets pregnant or says she's pregnant, they get up and leave. And that's sad. That's sad that women have to go through that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say every man does it, but there are a lot out there that do it.
Right. Well,
a lot of times AB will happen just because of that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, and I think that's the issue, is that with women, they do have the ability to either have an AB or they have the ability to use a safe haven or whatever the case may be. So you don't see as many deadbeat moms as you do deadbeat dads, because women have the ability to opt out. If a guy becomes a dad, I don't care if you're 15 years old, strung out on drugs, going away on war or whatever, they tell you you need to man up and become a parent. Where the woman, they do give her options. Well, now that once we remove those options from women, I do believe the number of deadbeat moms is going to skyrocket, because we have about 500 to 750,000 ABs per year. I think that's the last number I saw. A lot of them probably are birth control. And you got a mom that's telling you, I am not ready to be a parent. And you're going to force her to do it anyway. Some of them are going to walk off because they were telling you, just like when a guy tells the woman, the minute she says, I pissed on a stick, and it's showing 2 lines, and the guy goes, I don't want that, and you're expecting father of the year. That's the same thing in this case. You're going to tell her she can't terminate the child. And then when the kid is born, you're expecting mother of the year. That's just probably not going to happen.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, you kind of educated me tonight on, and I'm a little uneducated on this subject, and that's with the Project 2025. So I heard about it a few times, and then I finally went and looked at it. Now, I'm not going to say I read the whole thing. I read maybe 100th of it. Probably 5 minutes into 1 or 2 pages. That's about it. I didn't read much more than that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see Trump being involved in Project 2025. I may be wrong.
His name.
What I did read about Project 2025, I felt like Kamala Harris was standing behind that.
Why?
Because based on her lack of policies, you could go to her website. There really wasn't much there. I felt like she was trying to hide behind the gates, so to speak, as far as what her policies really were going to be.
Okay, what is that? Okay, saying that Kamala Harris had little to no policies, how does that link her to Project 2025?
Because the fact that she couldn't answer questions with the news media, and she wasn't really doing, I don't feel like her campaign or her rallies were very great.
I get that, but I'm trying to figure, so you're saying that if a politician has bad campaign promises or they can't answer questions, you're going to just link them to Project 2025?
I wasn't trying to link her to Project 2025. That was just my first thought.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. To me, your first thought should have been she's a terrible politician and she's not really running on anything. I don't know where you would get that.
I do agree with.
Yeah.
She is a terrible politician and she didn't have anything to run on.
Okay. That would make more sense than linking her to Project 2025.
She opened our borders to a mess, basically. Literally a mess.
And I can tell you for a fact that ain't in Project 2025. Open borders is not part of Project 2025.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But, I mean, things, from 2020 until now, things went wrong with this country so fast that they could link Trump to the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And how that all started out, but everything that happened behind that's all Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
What do you mean?
The open borders, the Russia attacking Ukraine.
You blame Biden for, well, I don't, Kamala Harris has nothing to do with Russia going into the Ukraine, but you're blaming Biden for Russia going into the Ukraine?
believe Biden let it happen because there was things that Trump had signed that stopped Russia from acting.
Like what?
And
what did Trump sign? What did Trump sign that Russia was adhering to?
I forget what they're called, but he signed something that prevented Vladimir Putin from acting against Ukraine.
I don't think that's true at all. I mean, he met with Putin, but there was no actual signed documentation that came out of that meeting at all. I don't think what you're saying is accurate.
It may not be.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. If Trump had got some kind of great agreement like that, and all of a sudden there's war under Biden, but it wasn't under him because he got a signature, he would be telling you that. That would have came up at every rally. I got this treaty or this agreement signed, and you see what happened with Biden. He would have been telling you that.
Well, yeah, but they showed on the news that when Biden got in office, he turned over everything Trump did.
Yeah.
And that's like after he did that, that's when these wars started.
Better yet, Biden overturned a lot of things that Trump did, but he didn't overturn anything that would have incentivized Putin to go into the Ukraine.
You might be right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Trump is the best tutor of his own horn. If he had got some kind of agreement accomplished like that kept Putin at bay, you would have heard about that at his rallies. He would have been saying, if Putin violated that agreement and I was still in office, he would have had hell to pay. He's not saying that. He's not telling you about any agreement he got because he didn't get one.
Well, all I can say about that is we'll have to sit back and see what he does now, because he says he's going to end these wars.
He said he was going to end it by now. The time he claimed he was going to end it has already expired. He said he was going to end it within 24 hours of getting elected.
I heard before inauguration.
He didn't say. Yeah, he didn't. He said before I'm in the Oval Office. So I guess you could twist it to say before inauguration. But do you really think he's going to end the war before he takes office? With no power?
I don't know. Now see that I don't know if he will. I really don't. I don't even know if he's capable of ending the wars before he takes office.
Right. Yeah, my guess is he made a promise that he believed would have helped him get elected, which it probably did, but there's no real chance of that coming to fruition. Now, he may end the war once he's in office, but that whole promise that he's going to end it before getting in office, that ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen.
You know, and here's the funny thing about that whole situation. So, when that war started, when Russia attacked Ukraine, I was working for a trucking company that was owned by a Ukrainian.
Oh.
Yes. Now, that man took his company from 175 trucks. He's down to 15 trucks right now.
Wow. Any idea why?
Because he took the money out of his company to help his country.
That's a noble deed. It may end up being wasted.
I don't blame him for doing that, but there's some of us that lost our jobs because of it.
Yeah. War can be harsh. I gotta move it on, but a lot of Israelis that were in this country went back to Israel to fight on behalf of their country. That's just kind of what happens. I gotta move it on though, Jay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, anytime. Appreciate you coming in. Don't be a stranger, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And I see in the comments, Ed says ABs is the literal worst form of a deadbeat. That is true, and I used to use that when in arguments where women would talk about, how awful deadbeat dads are, and I would ask that question: which one is worse? A man that creates a child and walks off and leaves that child with the biological mother, just abandons his kid and leaves it with the biological mother because he didn't want to be a father, or a woman that gets pregnant and has the child's life terminated because she did not want to be a mother. I ask women all the time, which one is the worst? And they would all say the deadbeat dad. They would all say the deadbeat dad. And I didn't understand it because I'm like, well, at least the kid still lived. But the women tend to think that the deadbeat father is actually worse than the mother, who's essentially doing the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, both parties had unprotected sex and decided they didn't want to be a parent. But when the dad walks off, he's public enemy number one. But when the mom terminates the life of the child, well, we understand you're going through. I mean, the mothers were treated with kid gloves. And I say that as somebody who's 100% pro-choice. But I do believe that the way we treat moms versus dads in that predicament is like night and day. Like I said before in the program, I don't care if you're a father that is strung out on heroin. I don't care if you're 13 years of age and you just tried sex for the first time and created a kid. I don't care if you just came back from fighting a war in a combat zone and you got some serious PTSD. If you're a man and you create a child, people expect you to man up regardless of what you're going through and be a child of that father. But in the case of women, yeah, you got options. We understand, you're too young. I was only 15. I wasn't ready to be a mom. And people understand it. But they'll tell that same 15-year-old guy, if you're a teenager, if you were man enough to do it, you better be man enough to take care of it. So I do agree from a male standpoint that we were treating women with kid gloves in regards to sexual irresponsibility compared to men. Apparently that's not going to happen anymore. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. When I see in the comments, Detector01 says got to pay child support too. My guess is once they start terminating pregnancy, once they start preventing the termination of pregnancies, and some of these moms that normally would have had an AB put their kid into foster care, they're going to be pursuing that mother for child support. They're going to start holding the moms account. Listen, I'm not a fan of just willy-nilly terminating kids, but I'm pro-choice because I don't believe it makes sense to force somebody to have a child if they don't want it. But I do believe probably one of the reasons why I am pro-choice is I know there's nothing good coming down the pipe for women. Nothing but accountability and punishment. Because they're not helping them with the kids out at all. So it's not like they're going to help them out with a little bit of extra assistance. There's no help coming. It's all negative. We are focused on saving the life of that unborn child. We don't give a damn about that mom. In a few cases, not all, but in a few cases, even if she's abused or her life is in danger, there's just no love for them. There's nothing good in any of these laws for the mom at all. That's why I'm not for it, because we're going to hurt some moms to save some kids. That's guaranteed to happen. Let me go back to the box, though. We now voted to force children to be parents. Yeah, that is what happened, because they believe that even if it's a 10 or a 12-year-old that's pregnant, you shouldn't be able to terminate the baby because, hey, the baby didn't have anything to do with why it was created. So make that 12-year-old carry that baby to term. I vehemently disagree with it, but that is the mindset for some people. It's pretty simple. You want an AB, you have to give up child support and alimony. Your body, your choice, my money, and my choice is fair is fair. I don't think it's going to go that far, but I've heard people say that as well. Mom need to keep them panties on. This whole notion of just keep your legs closed, man, talk about when folks say zero sympathy, that's about as close to zero sympathy as you can get. You should have kept your legs closed. I mean, wow, to me that's rough. Let me go back to the box though. Gen X. Now Gen X, this is gonna be interesting, but Gen X, come on through. Now Gen X, you definitely are one that favors the keep your legs closed mantra. Am I correct?
Yeah, man, keep them motherfucking legs closed. Close them damn legs, woman. What's the matter with you?
No. Mistakes happen.
Yeah, that's kind of a big mistake, man. You're a liar, you know that?
I'm a liar now. What did I lie about?
I just wanted to say that dude cracked me up.
Listen, I invite criticism and dissenting opinions all the time. I gave him plenty of time to talk. I didn't shorten him up because he wanted to criticize or insult me. I favor dissenting opinions, so he stated what he had to state, but it cracked me up a little bit too. But hey, the man wanted to talk.
Hey, Tim, you're normally a pretty sharp dresser. I can't believe your T-shirt don't match that bright orange prison county jail shirt you wearing.
Because I was actually about to go to bed before I came down here and talked to y'all ass. I'm like, let me go in the man cave and holler at MAGA for a minute. But I got pajamas on under here. That's why you seeing that. You know, you can see my pajamas bottoms and shit. Got on my fucking slippers and all that. I was about to go to bed. That's why you seeing that. And I see somebody said Chicago Bears orange. Oh, my Bears lost again today. I don't even want to talk about that. So, but what I wanted to ask.
Did Detroit win today?
Yeah, Detroit won. Detroit's kicking ass. That's half of your Super Bowl right there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the question though. On Trump, you see on the monitor, I got Trump day one. He's made a bunch of promises. Now I know you are MAGA, so is there anything you're concerned that he might do that maybe you're like maybe not so fast? I know you favor most of the things he has promised, but has he promised something that you're probably thinking like maybe that wouldn't be the best idea? Anything he's promised that you're concerned about?
You know what? Initially, I had hoped for him to kind of tackle the economy stuff, the border shit. But hey, at this point in the game, I'm hoping that he goes right after the whole world on fire thing, man. Puts out some of these fires on the globe because, man, $2 gas ain't going to mean shit if we get nuked.
Yeah, so you mean the wars?
Yeah, the wars. I think that should be priority for all of us.
Yeah, I've had folks on the program, Dencal, who comes on regularly, who is a combat veteran himself, and he makes a good point. He says that he believes Putin might be homicidal, but he's not suicidal. Meaning that if Russia decides to use atomic weapons, that's essentially suicide for them. I mean, we've shown that Russia's military conventional weapons are not that great. Ukraine can hold them at bay utilizing some of our lower class capabilities. Now, they do have nukes, but if Putin decides to use atomic weapons, he's going to have a whole bunch of them coming back at him. And now we're going to be looking to find them and probably kill him. So I do agree that he might be homicidal, but I don't think he's suicidal either.
You know, but the same works both ways. I mean, if Putin went ahead and dropped a nuke on Ukraine, I don't think we'd nuke him. I don't think America would want any part of that. Europe might, but if they start throwing nukes around Europe, I honestly, I don't see our government getting ourselves nuked, because then we got to worry about Russia, we got to worry about China.
I don't know.
I think we'd bow out on that.
If Russia decides to nuke the Ukraine, I don't know if China would just jump in that. China got a huge import-export market with us. We're the reason their economy is far stronger than it's ever been. Why would you get involved in this shit over the Ukraine? I don't see where China has enough to gain in that. I don't think China would get involved in it.
Yeah, that's my point. I don't either. I don't think anybody else would get involved in it because they don't want to get nuked them damn self. Nobody's suicidal.
Yeah.
And then Russia's got the capability to hit anybody on the planet. They got some pretty nasty shit.
So do you think it would make a difference between the ministry? Let's say, for instance, Russia nuked the Ukraine and Kamala Harris was president versus Trump. Do you think both of them would stand down?
Yeah, I think the generals would kind of pull the weight on that one and make them stand down. I do. Yeah,
well,
I do.
So in other words, Ukraine is not worth it.
No, I mean, I don't want to get nuked over them. Fuck they ever done for us?
Well, my guess is they're going to do a lot for us after this is over with. Like, we'll probably have bases and everything in the Ukraine once this is over with because they owe us their lives. So we'll have full access to that country.
I just hope that the powers that be let common sense, kind of squash all this shit, man. Because I don't nobody want to deal with all that bullshit, man. I know I don't.
So what's the solution? Just let the Ukraine fall?
It's an ugly solution, but it's the only solution.
No, it's not. Putin can stand down. That's a solution too.
And you think he's going to do that?
Do you think he's going to stop at the Ukraine?
Yeah, he doesn't have any business anywhere else. He doesn't want anything.
He don't have any business in the Ukraine.
Well, that's debatable. I mean, we can argue and go back and forth on that. I listened to the guy talking about the
alleged agreement that we weren't going to move NATO closer.
Yeah, but that wasn't that didn't have anything to do with the accords that were signed in like '93. In '97, they signed another one for border sovereignty. It was called the Friendship Agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and that kind of better laid out the terms of border sovereignty, man, for both countries.
What did Ukraine violate that gave Russia the right to attack them?
I don't think Russia should have attacked them.
Right, and by the way, Russia attacked them in 2008, 2014 as well. I mean, they took Georgia and they took Crimea. They've been striking for a while. So I don't know if the excuse that people are using to justify what they did now is valid. I mean, Russia has been hinting at taking snippets of the Ukraine for a long time now.
Yeah, a whole lot of that shit don't make a lot of sense to me. What I do know is that it ain't none of our business. Because Russia ain't going to come over here. They ain't going to invade the U.S. You motherfuckers want to get fucking down and right then fucking have at it, man. Enjoy yourselves. I don't think it's any of our business.
Well, but what about our allies in the region that believe that Ukraine won't be its only accomplishment?
Well, let me ask you this. If Russia did invade the U.S., how many of our allies you think would be lined up to help us out if they had the upper hand? Not many.
I don't know. They helped.
Not many.
They participated in all the other wars we've been involved in.
They didn't participate in shit. If it wasn't for us, they'd all be speaking German.
Well, they participated, though.
They lost. They didn't participate in nothing. They lost until we got involved.
Yeah, because everybody don't have the military the U.S. has. Some people believe in shit like giving their citizens health care and somewhere to live. We pretend we would rather tell you, screw taking care of you, we're going to build up our military. Other countries, they take care of their citizens, so they don't have as much money to back a military like we do.
Well, back in the day, man, back in the 40s, we were in the same boat as the rest of the world. In fact, we were getting our asses kicked in the South Pacific. That's why we nuked Japan.
Yeah.
You know, we were getting our asses handed to us. Yeah. You know, and that kind of that changed the whole tide of warfare right there.
Yeah, but I thought we had an alliance. I mean, NATO, the UN, that's an alliance. You don't just let countries fall.
Again, it ain't our business. It's not our business, Tim. That's just how I feel about it.
I don't know. I think that if you let Russia do what it wants, eventually, financially, it's going to become your business. They're going to start screwing around with import-export markets. Who knows? The value of the U.S. dollar may be affected by it. I think eventually, you know, the fuel and things like that, natural gas in that region, so that now you're competing with more countries that want to import-export fuel. I think Russia could make a mess for us if we just stand back and say it ain't our business.
Yeah, Kronk in your chat said selfish. Yeah, I might be selfish, but I ain't fucking suicidal.
Russia ain't going to do that, man. I don't think Russia's going to do that. I don't think Russia wants to go to war with the U.S.
Did you see the
over Ukraine
press conference Vladimir Putin had today?
The one that was in English?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Talking about his Mach 10 missile.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think that Russia's playing, man. Because they're a bit of a paper tiger, but not when it comes to the nukes.
But this is why I keep saying homicidal versus suicidal. Okay, you fire a missile that goes Mach 10 or 10 Mach as they pronounced it. Okay, we can't stop the missile, but our satellites can definitely detect where it was fired from. So you do realize all of them motherfuckers is dead, right? I mean, yeah, your missile hit, but you do realize that launcher and any other ones we spot from now on are going to be game on in a minute. I mean, so it's suicidal. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to fly any planes over your country because we're going to effectively shoot down anything flying over Russia. I don't think he's suicidal like that. I mean, they have nukes, no doubt, but the Russian military, I don't believe it holds a candle to the American military. If it became an all-out war, I don't think Russia would stand a chance. Chances are we know where most of those missiles and silos are located, just like they know where our stuff is located.
And I agree with you. my argument would be, what if we both fucking wrong?
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's the reason why I think Russia would never do all of that over to Ukraine. You're going to go.
That's why I say, man, that's why I hope that is the first thing on Trump's priority list, is to get that shit figured out. Yeah, he got a lot of work to do and a lot of other shit, but I think we're talking about the ultimate fuck up, man. You only get to play World War III once with nukes. That's it. Because World War IV will be fighting with sticks and stones.
Well, and I agree that it needs to be gotten under wraps, but I'm not necessarily a big fan of just, hey, if the Ukraine has to fall, let it fall. I'm not a fan of that. That seems to be your take on it, because unlike you, I tend to agree with some of our allies in the region, is that Putin is trying to reestablish the Soviet Union. And if he can get America to stand down when it comes to the Ukraine, the question becomes, well, shit, what else will they stand down while I accomplish? I mean, okay, they didn't back, under Trump, he stood down and said, you can have the Ukraine. We don't want nothing to do with this. Okay, well, maybe we can go after, Romania or some other country next.
Fuck it, let them have it. Let them have it. They don't do nothing, but Romania don't do nothing for us. Fuck them.
That's the problem, though, because now you're going to create a huge refugee crisis in Europe. All of that's going to eventually affect our economy, our, the price you pay at the pump, inflation. All of that shit works on the same. We're not disconnected from that stuff. All of that stuff will come back home to hurt us, at least financially.
Yeah, the other thing I hope Trump does when he gets back in office is pardon my brothers, man.
Your brothers. I know what you're talking about, but I want you to elaborate for the audience.
I can't, because I already got one account banned. This is my new account, because I think it was something that was said about that. So I don't want to do that out of respect for you.
Okay, well, I'll give you some synonyms, and you can just give me a yes or no. Is it safe to say you are a boy that is very proud?
You got it, my man. Right. You got it.
And that's what you mean by your brothers, correct?
Yep.
The ones that claim they were not present there on that day.
Not as involved as they say.
Yeah, but they in jail.
Yeah.
Why are those boys that are very proud in jail from January 6th?
Because a lot of misinformation, a lot of bullshit. That's a whole nother show, Tim. That's a whole nother show.
Let me get your take on one thing. What is your take on what happened to Ashley Babbitt?
She was murdered.
Murdered. No chance that...
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that what she was doing led to her fucking around and finding out.
Yeah, she didn't deserve a death sentence, so...
What did she deserve? I mean,
she was unarmed.
And he knew that?
She was that guy didn't have no right having a gun in the first place. You're talking about a man who left his service revolver in the bathroom.
You're going to tell me that this crowd that is smashing everything to get through, and you're going to look at the guy that's defending himself and say he didn't have a right to have a gun, but did they have a right to do what they were doing?
No, nobody had a right to destroy anything. I don't agree with any of that shit.
What was he supposed to think they were trying to do?
Well, not shoot her in the head.
No, what was he supposed to think that they were trying to do? What were they trying to do?
He thought right, man. They were there people were there tearing shit up. Shit got out of hand. People were there tearing shit up. But that don't mean to kill unarmed people.
So
let me ask you this, Tim. If that would have been reversed, let's say that would have been an African American woman that got shot in her head by a white cop who was questionable in a lot of his previous decisions, like leaving his gun in a bathroom.
What do you mean?
I think that would have been a whole different ballgame, man.
What do you mean leaving his gun in the bathroom?
That's at one point, I guess the guy left his service revolver in one of the bathrooms at the Capitol.
Yeah, but that ain't got nothing to do with the event that took place.
No. My point is, if he's that irresponsible with a gun, he shouldn't even have one.
I think any officer, let's pretend like it's not that guy that took her life and it was another officer. I think any officer in that situation should have fired, and in my opinion, they probably should have fired more than one round. He essentially fired a warning shot into the crowd that struck her, but in my opinion, all of them were fair game at that point for what they were doing.
I don't agree.
So they got furniture up against the window, and these people go. So what the guy who fired, was he just supposed to let them encroach and come right on through and get to him?
Well, he wasn't supposed to murder people.
What was he supposed to do?
They could turn around, run your ass back in the building.
Whatever happened to not having the duty to surrender? What happened to stand your ground? He wasn't supposed to do that?
Hey, come on, man.
You're telling me a cop. You actually are telling me a cop should have turned and ran. When do we advise cops to turn around and run?
His first priority is people's safety. First of all, firing into a crowd, that's fucking dumb.
Not if the whole crowd is trying to get to you. I don't
understand police brutality.
This isn't brutality when you got folks, you are hiding behind a barricade. You've put furniture up against that barricade to prevent people from getting to you. They're breaking the windows with the intention of climbing over the furniture. What other option do you have at that point? You've already hid and cowered, and now they're trying to get to the place you're hiding and cowering in. What are you supposed to do?
Let me ask you a question, Tim. How many people died that day because of the so-called rioters? How many rounds were fired? How many of those guys were even armed?
That's a good question.
Zero.
We don't know that. We do not know that. Nobody had been, just like the open borders, that was an open protest. We don't know who was patted down. We don't know how many people were armed. There's no way to know that.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So he don't know if Ashley Babbitt or any of them in the crowd is armed. And they're trying to get to them. And you're telling me the cops should just turn him and the people that he is securing, they should all just take off and run and surrender their location to these people?
They shouldn't shoot them dead.
I get what they shouldn't do. But notice how you're having such a difficult time saying what they should do. I mean, they are cowering, and these people are trying to overtake the place they're cowering in. What are they supposed to do?
I don't have an answer for that, Tim. I wasn't there. I'm not a police officer. I don't have an answer for that. I can definitively say that shooting an unarmed woman is not the best choice of any choices if they had any other ones.
Yeah, when you say shoot an unarmed woman, I think the problem is you make it sound like she's standing there by herself getting shot. An unarmed woman with another 200 dudes behind her is not an unarmed woman. You make it sound like she's there alone. I mean, the whole crowd is working in concert with her. So she ain't doing this on her own.
Well, there was a lot of people made bad decisions that day.
Yeah. I mean, just the propriety of force, they don't need to be armed. I mean, if they get their hands on you, they can literally do whatever they want to you. At that point, if you don't fire into that crowd like what you're saying he shouldn't do, and you know they're coming your way, you're pretty much leaving yourself at the mercy of hoping they don't hurt you. Because at that point, they can do whatever they want to you, and there's no way you're going to be able to stop a crowd that size. Your firearm is all you have.
Well, obviously, they were trying to hurt anybody because he was one guy with one gun with a whole gang of motherfuckers behind her. So if they were here to hurt people, don't you think they would have?
I think that the cop that they were smashing in the door that was bleeding out of his mouth, they clearly were trying to hurt him. They were bear spraying some cops. They were beating some of them with flags. They were trying to hurt people. There are people they were trying to hurt.
Well, they weren't trying very hard.
Well, I agree it wasn't organized, is the point you're making. I agree it wasn't, they were, I think that if they had got their hands on Mike Pence or Nancy Pelosi, you might have seen a different outcome. But they were not actively, I guess, to some degree trying to, but since when is the police under these circumstances, expected to make this type of judgment. Well, they may or may not be trying to hurt me. I mean, you don't busted windows, you got all types of sticks in your hands, you're yelling out all kinds of shit, and I told the judge whether you're here to hurt me or not. Since when do we expect the cops to do that kind of stuff?
When there's cause for it.
I don't, like I said, I've played this, just real quick. Now, look at the screen behind me. I'm sure you've seen this a million times, but just to make a point.
Times.
Yeah. When he's cursing. Now, right there, you see the guy using some kind of stick or whatever, which easily can be used as a weapon to smash the window. And if you notice, there's two window panes on one door and on the other. On the other door, you can clearly see a chair that's upside down. They don't put furniture up against this door. And they're trying to, so the people behind there is clearly scared as hell. They don't want lock the doors and put furniture up against the door to protect themselves. And they're trying to bust and get in there. Like, let's say, for instance, somebody broke in your house and you didn't have a gun. So you put the couch up against the door or something and you're hiding in the house. And the person is trying to get past all that. What is the guy supposed to do?
Yeah, I think a home defense is a lot different than you're kind of comparing apples to oranges.
I'm just simply saying
that break into your home. Yeah, I'm 100% for it.
Well,
they get the wireless hole puncher all day long.
Wireless hole. I like the term, but even if you're out in public, Gen X, I don't care where. Let's say, for instance, you're out on the beach or something, and one of your rivals is out there, and you run into a public bathroom, and you grab the sink or whatever and put it up against the door, and that person is trying to smash and get in there. What do you think they're trying to do? I mean, they're trying to get into an area where you're clearly cowering and hiding from them. I mean, you just let them get in there?
Tim, you will never get me to concede that murder was justified. It wasn't.
Okay.
It just wasn't, man.
I think that you just have a soft side for the MAGA in this picture. I mean, because I think in many other situations you would have been favorable to some. I mean, this is clearly a clear-cut case in my opinion to fuck around and find out. They're doing everything wrong, like literally everything wrong, and somebody lost their life in the process. This is literally a perfect case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They're doing everything wrong here. Not one thing they're doing is right. And they end up losing their life.
I agree with that. You'll get no argument from me there.
Yeah.
I think it was some dumb shit, man. I think it was some dumb, avoidable shit that should never happen again.
I'm going to say, even if I had a relative that was there that day and did something what Ashley Babbitt did, I would not hold the police accountable for that. I mean, they were scared to death of you guys. I mean, they're obviously that cop that ended up taking her life. You got to assume if he had a radio on him, it featured all kinds of voices screaming for help, screaming for backup. The building is being overran. And now that crowd that has overran the building has come inside and found the area you are hiding in, and they're trying to break into that area as well. And
what do you suppose would have happened? And then this is clearly hypothetical. Mm-hmm. What do you think would have happened if instead of shooting blindly into a crowd and killing somebody, if he would have just discharged his weapon into the floor? You don't think that would have got folks' attention? You don't think that might not change the fucking the whole? It would have took the fucking edge right off that sword.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to push back for the simple fact is I think in light of, because you favor the MAGA in this picture, you're asking cops to do things just like you said they should have ran. Now you're talking about shooting in the air. Cops aren't trained to do any of that shit. You're asking cops to do things that they're told never to use a gun as a deterrent like that. You don't shoot into the air. When have you ever heard a cop talk to do something like that? I mean, the fact is the people that got shot deserve to be shot, but you're coming up with ways of trying to get the cops to go around it. If you want to say this event is preventable, it's preventable by they should not be there doing what they're doing.
And I agree. That shit should have never happened.
Yeah.
That shit should have never fucking went down like that.
Yeah, because you got folks on the right that are talking about it was a tour and they were let in. This situation here, that's not happening. There are other places in the building where cops are. In fact, when you look at the videos that Tucker Carlson showed that he got from McCarthy of people being let in, they weren't standing down, in my opinion, because they were overran. Because even in this video, you can clearly see the cops in this video are standing down, even though they're looking directly at violent people. These guys are clearly committing federal felonies right in their face, and they're standing down because they realize they're outnumbered. Look at the cops in the picture. He right in the middle of it. And see, people see these cops as standing down and somehow saying that they were giving them a tour. I mean, I guess some folks believe that this cop that's sitting here with the mask on his face is actually giving them a tour to bust up the building.
There's video of them letting them in, man.
Right.
And escorting them through the building.
Right. Just like
There's
this.
so much video that we didn't see, Tim. There's a lot of video that we didn't see.
I've seen the video of them being escorted through the building, just like the QAnon shaman guy was escorted through the building. And I believe it's just like with this guy. They were outnumbered, or they were taking your advice, which is what you're saying the guy who shot them should have did, is also remain peaceful. Some of them folks, hey, what did you say? You should have ran or something like that? Even you were saying.
That was just an option. You said, what would you do? I don't know. Fucking run, shoot in the pool, whatever. What I wouldn't have done is shot an unarmed woman in the head.
I don't know, Jen. I think in a situation like that, the PTSD and the stress levels got to be off the chain. I'm not going to hold a cop accountable for being surrounded by a bunch of marauders. You got Trump already talking about, when it comes to all of these kids going in these stores and stealing shit, that the cops should have one violent hour and it would make crime go away. But for some reason, in this case, he don't want the cops to have a violent hour. What they're doing is obviously criminal. Obviously criminal. Same thing with the kids going in stores and taking purses and shit off the shelves. But somehow he want the kids to meet violence, but these guys deserve a pardon. How does that make sense?
So what about all the, and I'm going to pull a Tim right now. I'm going to go into the whataboutisms.
Okay.
All right.
Let me have it. You know, I love you, Jen. Let me have it.
Well, what about all the violence at the riots, man? And literally burning down city blocks and destroying police stations and annexing part of Seattle. Do you think that would have been okay to kill people?
If you're in the police station and they're trying to set it on fire, yeah. If you're in a police car and they're throwing Molotov cocktails at your car, yeah. I'm not going to play games with that. Yeah, I think it's okay. If somebody's committing an act that puts your life in jeopardy, or you reasonably believe you're about to encounter serious bodily harm, yeah. Now, if they're setting a store on fire and nobody's in it, then that's different. Like in this case, I wouldn't suggest just walking up and popping all of these people if there were not people behind the window that were that cop who took the shot at Ashley Babbitt had 3 other interns hiding behind him because they were going to him as, he's a cop, he can save us. So he was actually defending people. That's the guy but if it's an empty building and rioter or looters, like when they went in Nancy Pelosi's office and shitted in her office and wiped it on the wall, or the guy sitting at her desk, I don't think he deserves to be murdered for that. But what these guys are doing, yeah, you got to defend yourself, because they've taken every precaution to cower and hide from these guys, and they're doing everything they can to break into the place they're cowering at and get to them. What else are they supposed to think?
But when the shoe's on the other foot and doesn't meet the narrative, it's a different story, right?
Not in my case. I just answered your question.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you stand on Kyle Rittenhouse. I know you believe that was
it was an act of self-defense. Yeah, I think what Kyle.
There's a lot of people that don't believe that.
Well, I'm definitely not one. I believe Kyle Rittenhouse was placed in a situation where he had to defend his life. I mean, he was on the ground. One guy was trying to use a skateboard. Another guy was hovering over him with a pistol. Now, I do believe Kyle Rittenhouse deliberately put himself in a dumb environment and it almost cost him his life. But that don't mean that just because he put himself in that environment, he deserved to be beaten. I mean, because he would have faced serious bodily harm if the first guy that he popped over by the hood of the car, the first guy he took, but that guy made it clear he was going to take his gun and kill him. So that guy clearly meant to harm him. And then the second person he popped, one, bicep guy who had a pistol in his hand, and then the other guy doing a flying kick. Yeah, I think what he did was self-defense. I just think that I'm not a fan of putting yourself deliberately in a dangerous environment and then using the stand your ground defense. Like George Zimmerman is another one, where you deliberately only did something because you had a gun. And then that would be like me literally walking into a Klan meeting with an AR on my hand. And the minute somebody calls me the wrong name, I pull out and shoot them off. Why would you go in there? I mean, you deliberately put yourself in harm's way to give yourself an excuse to do that. And that's what Kyle Rittenhouse and George Zimmerman did. They were literally creating an environment to give them an excuse to do something like that. That without a gun, they would have never did that.
Yeah, now Zimmerman I ain't going to speak on because that was just fucked up. Yeah. But I don't think Rittenhouse went there with the intent of hurting somebody. I don't believe that.
No, he didn't go there with the intent of hurting somebody, but he went there and created a situation where that was highly likely to happen. I mean, even the place he claimed that he was guarding, the owner said, we never asked him to do that. He's going around telling people he's a medic with no medical credentials at all. Why are you here? I mean, like, literally, why are you here other than you don't like the rioters? I mean, he literally went to that environment and put himself in harm's way, and that's exactly what happened. Like, why are you? Nobody asked you to be here. You don't even live in this area. You live in Illinois. Why the hell are you here? I mean, you literally drove to Wisconsin to do that.
He didn't even live in the state.
Right. So he deliberately put himself in harm's way and then used a stand your ground defense to get out of it. And that's happened in a lot of cases. Like the caravan that went down to the border, the whole truck caravan. Why are you, all of a sudden you get into a shootout with the cartel or some shit. Why are you here? Like, there's government officials. Why are you putting yourself in this stuff?
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
All right, but Kyle Rittenhouse was self-defense. I would have let him off too. I would have let him off for it, but it is what it is.
You want to hear the other part of your questions?
Real quick, go ahead. I got to move it on, but give me what you got.
What he does, what I hope he does not do is go after his political rivals. I know a lot of people on my side of the aisle want him to fucking seek revenge, hellfire, and brimstone. I hope he walks above that line, man. I really do.
That's well stated. Fauci, Jack Smith, who else he wants? It's a laundry list of them. But yeah, that would be, I think if he did that one, that would be a really good start in the right direction. I think Trump, despite, how me personally, some of the things I don't like about, I think he has the potential to be a really good president if he does things like that, not go after his adversaries. But it's Trump. I don't feel confident that's going to happen. But Gen X, I do got to move it on as always.
All right, brother. My pleasure, man. As always, have a great rest of your weekend, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Good talk. All right, moving on with the program. He still needs to hold others accountable. If they committed an actual violation, hold them accountable. But I think what Trump is likely to do is exactly what he accused people of doing to him. Witch hunts. Dr. Fauci is a perfect example. I got a lot of MAGA that believes Dr. Fauci should be prosecuted. That is bullshit in my opinion. Dr. Fauci is the fucking messenger. Dr. Fauci doesn't pass legislation. He doesn't pass laws or anything. He studies viruses and gives you his opinion. That is all he does. Why the hell should Dr. Fauci be locked up? If you thought his advice was bad, then get your advice from someone else. You're going to ask the man for advice, and then because you don't like the advice, you want to criminalize him? So I really, really despise that. And there's a lot of MAGA that believe Dr. Fauci, he should go after Dr. Fauci. That's insane. Nobody put a gun to Trump's head and told him you have to follow what Dr. Fauci is saying. You put Ben Carson over housing and urban development. Maybe you could have used him to get better advice. But because Dr. Fauci did things maybe Trump and MAGA did not like, and he did it while under Trump's administration, Trump doesn't want to take credit for bad decisions being made under his administration. So he's trying to shoot the messenger to some degree. Hopefully he don't do that, like my last caller said. Anyhow, looking in the comment section, Gen X needs to take his lips off Trump's butt, says Walter Greenwood. Well, he did say that Trump should not go after his adversary, so I like that part of it. But we don't agree on January 6th at all, and he wants those participants to be pardoned. I don't favor that at all. I think that would be viewed as being, using the presidential pardon in a corrupt manner. Stick. Good evening.
Good evening, Tim. Yeah, those boys that are proud, I don't understand why he's so ecstatic and want them to be pardoned. I think you kind of clicked it in his head that no matter what group they were a part of, they were wrong.
Yeah.
And Ashley Babbitt, she didn't have to do any of that. She could have stood to the side, let one of those guys go up there and be unalived, or they didn't have to be unalived. They could have just not did any of that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that it seems like, because when you were arguing back and forth about the lie thing, you merely just gave him your opinion and or how you felt on the situation, but because it wasn't aligning with him, you were lying and or wrong.
That happens. I let the people speak, but that does happen. So I don't know. I'm hoping that Trump does not pardon them, but I think those folks are expecting a pardon because Trump did promise it.
Man, it's just one of those slaps in the face. Again, if he gets sentenced and or they accept it to say that he's is a 34-time convicted felon, whether he goes to jail or not, these people need to understand that this is reality. There's nothing that you can say to make it not true, to make it go away. He said certain things. Your mind state is always God bless America and no one else. This is you guys. This is just what it is. As much as you like to say it's not true, you just had one of your supporters come up here and say that he was part of those boys that are proud.
I get some oath. I've had a couple of oath keepers on. Well, keepers of oath. How about that? I've had a couple of them on the show as well. Yeah.
And then they say it's fear mongering, but then when the evidence is right there that they're more emboldened to come out and say who they are and how prejudiced they are and how bigoted they are and any other thing. I mean,
well, he didn't say the boys. He didn't say the boys of pride or prejudice or any of that. He didn't come out and say that.
He didn't have to say it. They're saying it already. They've been known to say it. That's how we know who they are. That's how black folks can identify who does what. If we know if they got that crooked cross, they're Yahtzees. We know if they're speaking nothing but America first, that they're white nationalists. We know who we're talking to. We know who we're looking at, and we know what it sounds like. And I just hate that they put themselves in pretzels. I hate that they use word salad that doesn't have any calories. I can't get nothing from it. Like I'm just sick of.
Well, because there's value to that. If you don't admit something, like for instance, there is a lot of minorities that voted for Trump. If folks who are intolerant, as you're suggesting, and I see in the comments, Roughneck said they are not prejudiced, but if you're in line with people, like when I went to a Trump rally, I've been to a couple of Trump rallies. If I'm standing in line with somebody who is openly admitting they're bigoted and prejudiced, it would make me think twice. Why am I standing in line next to somebody who's saying this? So the best way to get, if I was going to vote for Trump, the best way to get my vote would be to say that I'm not like that. I'm fine with you, brother. I consider you a human just like I am. The best way to get the vote would be to lie about it. They're not going to come out and tell you I don't like your kind if they need your vote.
They're doing it, but they're doing it because again, since after the election and Trump has got elected, the racial things have been escalated. I mean, they just had some people in Ohio in mass walking around screaming and doing it's out there. It's more public. Again, you just had him on here saying he's one of the proud folks. So it's again, he wouldn't have said that, like, maybe he would have. I don't know.
Yeah, I've known that for a while. And remember, I asked, I've known it for at least a year. He's told me that at least a year ago.
That's why I said maybe I don't know. Maybe he's so proud that he would have said that. I don't know. To me, that's stupidity. But as just me, he has the right to vote for whoever he voted for. He has the right to think how he thinks. But what I don't like is, again, you call somebody a lie because of lack of evidence and or somebody said something. Well, if you would have been paying attention, it was a congressional hearing of ethics. So it was amongst Congress. Like basically, when Trump got impeached, he didn't go to the DOJ. He went next up and they pardoned him.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's the same thing. The DOJ had nothing to do with it. It was ethics committee. It was a committee. And the only thing they can do is investigate it. Once they investigate it, they can pass it off to the DOJ. But in this case, it didn't happen because he bowed out. Once he bowed out, he's no more a congressman. They dropped it. That's why he left, so they could drop it, so nobody could look at it, so nobody could.
Now you're talking exactly you're talking about Matt Gaetz, correct?
Yes, I'm talking about Matt Gaetz. So it's obvious, it's there, and it's reality. And that's just what we have to deal with. When you don't run and say, oh, Matt Gaetz was this, and this is the reason, and they didn't find anything. Man, stop it, man. The reason why he gracefully bowed out, because he knew what was coming.
Yeah. That's my take on it. Yeah, that's my take on it as well.
Yeah, that's period.
I think that both Trump and Matt Gaetz, I've said on the show many times, they're not fighting to prove their innocence. They're fighting to make their cases go away. So you won't even have anything to judge whether they're innocent or guilty on at all. The goal is to make it go away. So we know that Jack Smith and the DOJ and Fonnie Willis down in Georgia, they got cases against Trump. And they're not trying to prove that they're innocent. He's not trying to prove that he's innocent and stuff. He's trying to make it so you never know what they were going to present.
Yeah, he at the end of the day, he was another stool pigeon / pawn / whatever you want to call him that Trump could have used. He would have been the top cop in the nation, number one.
Mm-hmm.
He could have squashed out any federal case that he wanted to.
Wow.
No, we're not going to focus on that anymore. I'm going to pull funding for this.
Yeah.
He's already talking about firing Jack Smith as soon as he gets in office, and I'm talking about Trump now. But then on top of that, you got a flunky that'll do anything that you want to do. Plus you have a Supreme Court that is willing to play ball. Plus you have the House. Plus you have the Senate. Right now, if y'all think, and I'm talking about MAGA, if y'all think that these things that Trump keeps saying that he wants to do, whether it be a dictator for a day or whether it be mass deportation, he has all the chips in order.
Oh yeah, I said that before.
Majority.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, he has the majority of the people that where we stand right now are the majority, which is white folks. That whether you want to say some of them are stupid, some of them are rich, so they are all in one accord together right now, and they have everything that they need right now. Everything.
So what do you think Trump's trying to do?
He's trying to be not a dictator for a day, but I mean it's just little slights. Hey, I'll just be a dictator for a day. Let me see what the reaction off of that. Some people are coming around saying, hey, I don't mind him being a dictator. As long as he gets this right and this right and that right. And he likes hearing that. He likes hearing that he can say something in a joking way, but then there's somebody out there that don't mind whatever joke he said for it to happen. Whether it's give cops immunity, whether it's I'll be a dictator for a day like we just said, whether it's what's another one?
Well, I mean, stop and frisk is the number, but
mass deportation. Yeah, the stop and frisk, mass deportation, like anything that he says, if he throws it out there, and one or two people he hears, yeah, oh, he's gonna run with that.
And I see in the comments, Twin Mom talked about the purge, giving cops the ability to be violent. I hope some of that stuff is a joke, because some of that stuff is frightening. I mean, you're talking about letting the cops be violent for an hour. I don't know where, that is frightening, but I think that
he told you in the first, he told you, he had already told you too. You remember when you could, rough them up,
Yeah.
Remember when you, So again, he likes it back in the day. He likes the 60s. He likes the way that the cops were able to basically be physical. They could
tune you up. They could tune you up.
Yeah, tune you up real decent, and it was the norm. And, every time black folks or minorities, whatever you want to say, always had to depend on the federal government. And they, the ones came in and got the local police departments right and did investigations and put the people in jail. So right now at this time, that's the product of the Republican Party.
But how do you respond how do you respond?
He asked you, do you trust the DOJ and basically the federal government? But right now, at this point, we have no choice because that's the only ones that's really holding up anything for anybody, including ABs.
Well, good luck with that. How do you respond to somebody like April Whirling in the comments that says, if you're worried about the cops doing all this, just don't be bad guys. In other words, just obey the law.
I feel the same way about ABs too. If you feel like that, then close your legs. Hey, my man, like Takesha said, go get a vasectomy. I feel any logical answer, I agree with. Logical. But when you come with all these extra, I'm gonna follow your pregnancy. If you go to another state and get it, I'm gonna charge you. Like, come on. Yeah. And then I thought y'all didn't want more government. I thought y'all guys.
Everybody says they're for small. Everybody says they're for smaller government until big government can be used to implement their agenda. Then they're favorable for it. Exactly. I want to read this to you. I want to read this to you. Gen X, who I was just on, referring to you, says stick should be. He said stick should be MAGA for a day. He would have a great time. But he said I'd even buy him a beer and let him sport my MAGA hat. He just got to leave Miss. He got to leave Miss Mo Bettis home. So you got an invitation to be MAGA.
Listen. I get it. I get it because I'm that same guy that believes that men should have more rights. I get it, and it's not that I'm a Democrat, and it's not that y'all are Republicans or conservatives or MAGA. It's not that. It's just like this. I can't vote against my own best interests, and I can't vote, which is number one, with bigoted, racist folks.
Wow.
Now, you may not be bigoted or racist because you said you'd take me and make me, let me have a beer with you. That's cool and that's fine. But I'm not really like that because, again, my ideology and who I align with are more like Black Panthers, are more like Malcolm X, are more like Muhammad Ali. By the way, he's from Louisville, where I'm from. Right. So, yeah, it don't align. And my people, the two people that should be my people, but I don't know what they got going on, Tim Kuhn and Brian. That's the only guy y'all got over there. Byron Reynolds, whatever his name is.
Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, Tim Scott. You call him Tim Kuhn.
Scott. Come on, man. And they've been chewed out everywhere they go. because they just say the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
You don't tell another grown
Didn't
man
Tim Scott
you just love him.
Didn't Tim Scott say
What's
something
that?
that was? Didn't Tim Scott say something that was about slavery was good or beneficial or something? Didn't he promote slavery or something?
Man, it's not so much he promoted it. It's just the way that he tried to twist it to say basically we got something good out of it. We learned trades and different stuff like that. Then you got Byron Donalds saying that the black folks did better under Jim Crow and this. No, we didn't do better under Jim Crow. We did better on not messing with those people. Them not being allowed to mess with those people. Because what I want you to understand is until we got to the point where we were talking about wanting to be equal, it just sounds to me like now, looking back, we just wanted the right to go out and hurt somebody like OJ and get away with it. We want to be just like them, which is the white tee man. You go out, you do something, and 9 times out of 10, and back in the day, you could just say, "Hey, no, the black dude did it."
Yeah, Susan Smith tried that, who's now serving 30 plus years. I got to move it on, but you are right. There was a time when we had no recourse. You could blame anything on the black man. Hopefully, we never go back to that. Stick, you know how.
Hey, stop and frisk. Stop and frisk.
Don't tell me that. I gotta go. Don't mention it.
He moved wrong. He moved wrong.
That's really wrong. Gotta go. All right, moving on with the program real quick. I wanted to respond to something I seen, and thank you, Sabrina, for the sub. Appreciate that. I'll go ahead and go straight to that because I didn't see what I was about to go into, but I'll bring Sabrina on. Good evening, Sabrina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. And thank you for the support, by the way. Now, did you lean right? I mean, do you lean right or left? I don't know.
No, I'm definitely a lefty.
Oh, what? Why wouldn't you favor Trump?
Oh, lots of reasons. He's awful, but he's our president now, so.
I'm under the impression that he would give us a good economy. There was no new wars under him. You could afford the price of gas. You could afford groceries. I was under the impression he was a good president, according to some of my viewers. You don't think so?
No. I mean, gas was cheap because nobody went anywhere. The economy, like we were all sitting at home not spending any money, and we were getting money from, the unemployment. We were getting extra $600 a week. And so a lot of people got paid more sitting at home than they did working their actual jobs. Yeah. So they felt like they had a lot of money in their pocket.
And they felt like Trump gave them that money personally.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people tell me that, I have somebody get on the show and say Trump gave us, a couple thousand in stimulus money. What the hell did Biden do? And I'm like, you really think Trump gave you that out of his pocket? Wow.
No, that was our money.
Right.
That was our tax money.
He gave you some of your own tax money back. Let me ask you this though: is there anything you are concerned with that Trump is promising now that he's about to become president? I mean, because obviously you don't favor many of the things he said he's going to do on day one, but is there anything that you're really concerned with that you're really hoping he does not do?
I hope he doesn't turn Ukraine over to Russia. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about Project 2025 and some of the things that they're wanting to implement and the people that he's put in charge of, his cabinet,
Now, when you mentioned the Ukraine, a lot of folks are suggesting that we spend way too much tax dollars going over there that could be helping out other Americans, and that's not our war. As Gen X was saying, look, it could go nuclear, it could go further than that. I don't want to risk American lives to defend the Ukraine. You believe we should stick it out?
Yeah, because those same people saying we shouldn't be over there and we should spend it on our people are the same people who want to cut all the programs that will help our people.
So in other words, they ain't gonna do nothing for our people no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've said the same thing on the program, kind of myself, in regards to that. The Ukraine war just started in February of 2022, and you notice there's not a lot of politicians bragging about how much they used to do for the poor in America before the money went overseas. They weren't doing it then. So what makes you think if the war ends, they're going to do it now?
Exactly.
Yeah. So is there any? I mean, because did you think did you think Biden and Harris was doing a good job?
I did. I think
Really?
things were turning around. It was such a shit show when they got there that, it was going to take time. We had a pandemic, and that wasn't all Trump's fault, because that was worldwide. Inflation is worldwide. It's not just us. So I think they did good. And all these people saying that Harris didn't have a platform, she had tons of things on her platform. I just don't understand. Like, did they just not listen to her?
Well, I grew up in a middle class family. I think she was saying the same things over and over again, and her stating that on The View that she couldn't think of anything she would do differently from Biden. I think she answered some questions poorly, is what probably hurt her.
Yeah, she did answer some, but I mean, she was going to do the 25,000 for new home buyers. She was going to give incentives for new homes to be built, taxing people making over $450,000 a year. There's all kinds of things you could do, even for like Social Security. If they raise the gap on it, like there's a cap on it. I think it's 147,000. If you make over that, they quit.
Yeah, I don't think promising to tax the wealthy. I think that was one of Bernie Sanders' mantras as well. I think even Obama talked about spreading the wealth around. That's incredibly unpopular for some reason, even though most of the country is not wealthy.
Yeah, I don't understand. Well, I mean, they're incentivized to keep their money. We need that money to go into our economy. That's how you have a good economy. Like, if people don't have money to spend, you don't have an economy.
Yeah, but our country believes in capitalism, and like Elon Musk, them type of folks, they believe that guy should be able to make as much money as he possibly wants to. I mean, you start talking about taxing the wealthy, you're certainly going to lose the right for sure. And I don't understand it, because there's a lot of poor people on the right, and like, why are you defending a billionaire? But they certainly do.
Yeah. Well, nobody becomes a billionaire ethically. That wealth is built on the backs of the people that work for them. So
that is one way of looking at it. What about the border, though? I mean, do you think Biden and Harris did a good job securing our border?
No, I don't. That is a failure on their part. Yeah, and I mean, it's not perfect. They're not perfect. No.
Do you not favor Trump for he would likely get in there and maybe secure our border, make us a little bit more safer?
Well, I think somebody was talking about the pendulum before. You go too far one way, you got to find a good middle ground. You can't just go mass deport everybody. We don't have the money to do that, and you can't just let everybody in either. True. So you got to figure out what's going to help get the people that are coming in here the right way and efficiently, and not take 10 years to become a citizen. Now
I hear there's another caravan headed this way right now, trying to get in before Trump takes office. So apparently even the migrants see Biden as really soft on immigration. There's a caravan headed this way right now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know what Trump's going to do. We'll have to see. Like, what's he going to do? Are we going to start shooting people when they start coming over?
Well, I don't know about shooting people, but I do believe they're going to show up to the border with guns. They may not shoot them, but they probably are going to threaten them. Now, in the comments, Terrence is saying that you probably support giving illegals transgender surgery and all of this stuff. She probably is in favor of illegals receiving trans surgery.
I mean, like, that's so stupid. I mean, they don't get all the benefits that everybody says that they do. I mean, I've looked it up before. I don't have it all written down, but it's very minimal, and nobody's getting transgender surgeries over here. You got to pay for that. Just like saying ABs are used as birth control. Like, it's expensive and it's painful. Yeah. So, like, no women are out there just,
You don't think so now? I mean, in regards to what you said about AB, you don't think no women are using that as birth control?
I mean, if your birth control fails, that's why you would seek out an AB.
No, I mean, like, say for instance, you slipped up, you had unprotected sex, and you got knocked up by a guy you don't care nothing about, or maybe a guy you met at the club and brought home that night, and you don't even know where he's at anymore. You don't see where some women would just want to get rid of it because, like, this isn't the way I wanted to be a mom. I don't know if my caller dropped. We'll give her a second to come back through her.
Oh, sorry. Okay. 100% of pregnancies are caused by men. So That's all I gotta say about that.
100% of pregnancies. I agree with that, but you don't see where women are using it potentially for birth control.
Well, I mean, I have had 4 children, and one of them didn't make it, so it was a spontaneous AB, and 2 of those were, I was on birth control and they weren't planned. So like it happens more often than you think. Women are doing things to protect themselves and they get pregnant because it's not 100%.
Right, but I'm talking about where a woman just had sex without using anything.
Yeah, but how are you going to know that? Like, are you going to ask everybody, oh, we can't get, you know what I
No,
mean?
they're not going to admit it either. I mean, nobody's going to admit, I just got rid of it because I didn't want it. The women aren't going to admit that.
Yeah, but I think women are a lot more responsible than, I'm sure that happens, but there's no way to measure that. There's no way to track that kind of information. So, like, most of the women I know are on birth control anyway for hormonal reasons to regulate their periods.
Yeah. I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. Jesus Christ. I'm like, I can't believe. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to run. Somebody in the comments is going to run away with that. But I'm not a woman. So at the end of the day, regardless of how I feel, and I'm pro-choice, by the way, but I don't believe I should have a say so in it at all. I mean, I've seen women. When my own daughter was in my ex-wife's belly, I see what it does to the body, the stretch marks, all that. I don't think any man should tell a woman you got to go through all of that shit. I mean, not to mention some women don't even make it out of childbirth. Even with our technology nowadays, you still can lose your life in childbirth. I mean, things can still
100%.
happen.
My daughter had to take the misoprostone or whatever for a miscarriage. So, even wanting to ban that, and she took that and still had to have a DNC. So, like in some states, would she have gotten the care that she needed?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, and that's what I'm saying. As a man that's not going through that stuff, I don't believe it's my job to tell her you got to go through that. Because I've always used the example of, let's say you got a woman that's 2 or 3 months along, and she says, "Well, I'm not ready to be a parent, but since the law requires, the law prevents me from terminating the life of this baby, I'm demanding that you come sedate me and take it out of me. I'm not going to take its life. Just put me under and take it out." You can't do that because you need her. So what happens next if the woman decides that she's being forced to have a child she doesn't want and she starts fasting or something like that, or doesn't take care of herself? Do we charge her with a crime? I mean,
no, that's crazy. We can't do that.
Yeah, and that's what can happen.
And nobody ever talks about how, like, you can rehome your adopted child. So, like, how many people are going to be adopting babies just like people take in puppies because they're cute or they wanted one. And then when it gets, bigger and they don't want it anymore, you can rehome your kid.
Wow.
Like, that's a whole thing. People never talk about that. They talk about the foster care system. It's kids that have been taken away from their parents, but it's also kids that have been just turned back into the state because the parents don't want them anymore and they have to find them other homes.
Yeah, you get a badass kid from foster care and it's not acting right. Yeah, I've heard of that. I knew a woman in Chicago that was taking in foster kids simply for the government subsidy that comes along with them. And, you get a child that's running out in the streets all times of night and don't want to obey, and she would give it back. I've seen it happen. I've actually seen it happen by, kids that I knew. So,
but I did want to say something about, like, it was way earlier in the conversation, and I made notes. This guy was talking about the Bibles in the schools with Oklahoma and Texas, and how he thinks that Trump's just not going to let it go that far.
I don't believe Trump's going to interfere with that at all.
He is totally going to let it go that far. Oklahoma just bought his Bible to put in their schools.
Right. Did they actually officially do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was like $6 million. When they've got tablets. They could even download a version of the Bible on the internet for free. Like, it was just a wasted money. He was trying to get a place in his cabinet, and it didn't work.
So the state of Oklahoma that's passed a law that the kids have to, they're going to be reading from Bible passages. They officially did purchase Trump's Bibles.
I'm pretty sure that came through. I think it was something like $6 million. I mean, I don't know if it got vetoed or stopped in some, but I mean, it was in motion to happen, and they were buying that version of it because it had the Declaration of Independence and something else in it. But it didn't have of the Constitution, but it didn't have all the amendments to the Constitution. So
that is utter corruption. And I see in the comments, Kurt Smith says that's exactly how Hitler got rich. Wow, that's crazy that they passed that law, and then then you're correct when you say it in there. There's no way in hell Trump is going to interfere with it if he's making money off of it.
And then that's a conflict of interest. And why hasn't he signed the ethics agreement yet? Why hasn't his administration signed all the ethics agreement? Are we going to have a president going in that can't get the security and can't get all the security clearance because he hasn't signed all the stuff he was supposed to? That I'm all confused about.
He's claiming he's going to. They're not going to use the FBI. They're going to hire a third-party organization.
Oh my God! But that's a smaller government.
And nobody on the right is claiming that any of this stuff is corrupt. I mean, they're using your Bible in school. I mean, that's about as close to God. Jesus. I didn't hear about that. That's terrible.
Yeah.
My God. That's horrible.
So I guess that would be a big concern of mine. But, I teach my kids at home too, what's right, what's wrong. And I know that they're going to hear things that we don't agree with. But, the main thing is to always be kind and be respectful of whoever you disagree with and not insult them and just say, well, just move on. If we can't talk about it, then let's not talk about it,
Yeah, that's disgusting in my opinion. All right, well, I got to move it on, Sabrina, but I didn't know that. Man, you just you spoiled me with that. That's terrible. That's disgusting. All right. Thank you for the sub too, by the way. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, moving on with the program. That's horrible. That's horrible that they would. I mean, like I said, first of all, simply requiring the kids partake in Christianity in schools by force, really. That's worse enough. But then that's bad. That's really bad. State of Oklahoma taxpayers are going to they basically are making Trump rich, and they don't have any say-so in the matter. We're talking about you don't want your money going to the Ukraine, huh? And it's going to him for Bibles. I don't see how that's any less awful, in my opinion. At least the money going to the Ukraine is helping them save lives and save their sovereignty. You're sending your money to a billionaire to buy, as what my last guest said, something you can download on the internet for free. Wow. And I see in the comments, Biden sniffed me as saying that she is misinformed. You saying what she said is not true? That Oklahoma will not be using Trump Bibles in their school districts at all? Is that what you're saying? Because they will lie to you and have nothing. Wait a minute. What does it say? Because they will lie to you and have you hating Jesus like they have you hating Trump. What? That ain't got what the hell does they got? And by the way, in regards to the notion that people hate Trump, that is based on something. I mean, I look, at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of hating on any politician, but I mean, the guy started his whole political career out by promising to literally be an office snitch. I mean, he promised that if you elect him president, he was going to come in and drain the swamp and name names. I mean, imagine going to a corporation and telling the owner of the corporation, if you hire me and make me a manager, I'll come in here and help you drain the swamp. I'll help you get rid of your lazy employees. I'll name names and help you get rid of them. You don't think everybody in there's going to hate you? I mean, that's what he promised, to be an office snitch. That's what Trump ran on. So when you say, well, people hate him, I mean, that's kind of par for the course, is that you're running a campaign on getting everybody fired. I mean, he's going to fire 3-letter organizations and all of that. I mean, what did you expect everybody to stand up and applause? Stand up and applaud him doing that? I mean, you're going to cost people jobs, and you're promising to go after people criminally. I mean, everything he's talking about is going to create some hatred. It would do that for anybody. Andriana Jones says corruption. Well, to me, selling Bibles to schools is corrupt to me. That sounds like corruption too. Elon is the welfare king, not a genius. I think Elon is a genius. I think he's a genius. I don't know if his intentions with Trump are pure, though. I'm not for sure of that part, but I think the guy's very smart. I don't like Donald J. Trump for several reasons. Says, I can't even pronounce the name there, Corsi, whatever it says. The swamp needs drained. April, one guy is not going to drain the swamp. Let me just make that clear. Even if he had 8 years, one guy who needs several of those swamp creatures to impose his agenda on America. You need Republican members of Congress, Republican members of the Senate to help you do what you want to do. And at the same time, you're calling them swamp creatures. That's not, you're not going to get what you want. And that's in the comments. Alan says, aren't they $60 each for Trump's Bibles? Yeah, but I doubt if the state of Oklahoma paid. They probably got them in bulk or something like that. I mean, but at the end of it, somebody said, what did the lady say? My last guest, Sabrina, said it was a $6 million deal. Let me see if I can find something on that real quick. I can't, that is terrible. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say is that is really bad. I have not heard that they officially did it. I knew they were changing the language that was leading them in that direction by saying the Bible had to have a constitution or something, the King James Bible. I mean, they were changing the language so that it only fit what the Trump Bible was offering. So I did hear that part, but I didn't know they had officially bought it though. That's terrible. And that is terrible. I'm trying to see what I can come up with on here because I have not heard that yet, but several folks in the comments said it's actually true. So Oklahoma GOP blesses Trump-backed Bibles. Yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, here's something. Well, no, that's coming from a liberal publication, so I don't want to post it. But it's actually titled "Trump Bible Scam Resurfaces with Oklahoma Bulk Buy." So that's indicating they did buy it, but it's coming from a liberal YouTuber. So I don't like to play stuff like that. Fox News is not going to report that. So, I like for instance, sometimes I like to make sure that I can post you guys things without coming from liberal sources. But something like that, Fox News is not going to, they're not going to even tell you about that. They're not going to cover that story. You're probably only going to get that from independent and left-leaning organizations. Fox News is not going to tell its viewers that the state of Oklahoma forced its taxpayers to buy Trump Bibles, even though there are many people on Fox that may agree with it. But Fox News is they're not going to tell you something like that makes Trump look bad. I see somebody said News 9 app in Oklahoma. I'd be curious to see it because like I said, I heard about it, but I didn't know that it had officially took place. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm not seeing the News 9 thing, but it is something I will discuss probably in a future show because I think that is so fucking corrupt. That's really bad. I mean, I see plenty of articles on the fact that the Bible is coming out, but I don't see any articles saying that they were actually purchased. And of course, you're not going to hear any criticism from MAGA about that, which is awful. I'll look it up later. Anyway, looking in the comments, a local Fox News network claims 500 Bibles were bought. It's not a lot, but I just don't believe that Trump's Bible should be the one they're buying. To me, it just looks corrupt. I mean, you're using his administration's in power. You're using the loophole that his administration gave you because under a liberal administration, you would have never been able to force Christianity on students anyway. And then, of course, you're going to reward him by buying his. It looks corrupt to me. Take your money private, buy gold, get it. I don't know what you're talking about. A bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with it. It looks very corrupt. It looks very corrupt. We didn't have any good choices for presidents. Many have stated that. Okay, said Trump's Bible is correct and would be a good Bible to use. At $60 a fucking pop? No, it ain't a good Bible to use. his Bible that the state of Oklahoma is paying for, as my last caller just suggested, you can download for free. It's not a good choice. What are you talking about? Why would you buy a Bible from a politician that you can download online for free? That's about as good of an example of a kickback as you can get. It's a good Bible to use. Oh my God, Jesus. That's what I call making up an excuse. And I see in the comments, Rusty is saying Kamala was corrupt. Kamala's gone. And what did Kamala Harris do that's corrupt? Why would you buy Jordans? What has buying Jordans got to do with the state of Oklahoma using the state taxpayer money to buy Bibles, whether the citizens favor Christianity or not? What does it got to do with an individual buying Jordans? He is mandating this Bible in all schools. Yeah, that guy needs to go. Whoever that politician, the governor or the superintendent of schools or whoever did that, he needs to go. That is, to me, that's really, really fucking corrupt. And I'll tell you this: if it was done in the other direction, where a liberal, let's say a liberal was a member of the LGBT community, the superintendent of schools was a member of the LGBT community, and he was making sure the students in public schools knew about what it meant to be gay or poly or something. I guarantee the right would be like, and then they're purchasing a book that he wrote or some other liberal wrote, and that's what the kids in schools have to read. Terrible. But when it's happening in favor of the right, they're going to be quiet about that. Or a superintendent of schools was a Muslim, and he was passing laws that required the children learn and know what the Quran is all about. I guarantee they wouldn't favor that. You would have a serious uproar at school board meetings. But with this, they're totally okay with it. Anyhow, folks, this is horribly corrupt, but I do appreciate the 91,000 on the like side. Thank you, folks that are tapping the screen. I do appreciate any of you folks that will subscribe and follow the program. We always have uncensored dialogue, despite the rhetoric on the program sometimes. We are MAGA friendly. We've always been MAGA friendly. We always will be. MAGA continues to be our preferred guest. We get plenty of MAGA on, but nevertheless, I'm going to be critical where I think criticism is due. And this Trump Bible being forced on kids in school that Trump is profiting from, it is as wrong as the days are long. I don't know what good it would be for the liberals to run with it at this point because they lost and the election is over with. But to prevent shit like this from happening in the future, I think MAGA should be the one speaking up. MAGA, I mean, this guy is making money off of this. MAGA should be, but because they're not, some liberal comes along in the future, in my opinion, you can't say shit. Nothing you can say. If a liberal comes along in the future and he tries to force some book or something he wrote on the kids, ain't a damn thing you can say because you turned a blind eye to this. I think MAGA is the one that should be speaking up on this, but like I said, they're not going to do it. Gibby says it is against the Constitution, and they're not going to say a damn thing about it. Whether it's against, notice you don't hear them saying nothing about it now. I agree with you. Do not make money off God's word. And the whole thing is terrible. The whole thing is terrible. Kind of makes me wonder if Trump didn't know what Oklahoma had in store when he came out with the Bible. Maybe somebody came and told him, if you would create a Bible, I can guarantee, a few $1 million of Oklahoma's money if you're okay with us making sure they read the good book. Quid pro quo of sorts. MAGA should be saying something about this. This to me is like the definition of a kickback. You help us get this law in place requiring Christianity in schools, and we'll purchase your Christian Bible as a result. Wow. Anyhow, like I said, I do appreciate the 92,000. You know what I got to do around this time. Follow the program on TikTok Monday through Friday. I will see you folks here tomorrow. It is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I gotta go. Sad state of affairs. Looking at the comments real quick. Goddamn, I quit watching you like 3 hours ago and come back. You still going. Respect. Thank you, Ray. Or is that Roy? Thank you, Roy. Well, I've come to an end. Catch you tomorrow. And thank you for my YouTube